All right, welcome everybody. We're here. To the surprise of some people, I guess, because last week I said I was going to stream Wednesday instead of today, but some things happened that we're going to dive into. Was definitely planning on streaming tomorrow and just playing some new Dual Commander when that comes out on Moto tomorrow. Still very excited for that, and I will be playing it on stream and off stream for the next month or so. But this past Sunday was the Legacy Showcase Qualifier, and I went in with very low expectations. I'm very sick of Legacy right now, as are a lot of people, understandably. So I just went in with the list you see here. We'll talk about some of the decisions here, but managed to get second place in the Legacy Showcase qualifier, which is huge news because Stefan, Mental Misstep, the person I lost to, is an excellent Magic player and was already qualified for the Pro Tour. So the Pro Tour invite passed down from him to me. So as second place in the Showcase qualifier, now I get to go to the Pro Tour for the second time due to Legacy, which is really cool. The first time I played in the Pro Tour was horrible, one of the worst Magic experiences of my life, because it was an arena PT back during COVID. It was miserable. The formats were miserable. I didn't have any fun at all. So I'm looking forward to getting a better memory unlocked with regards to playing in a Pro Tour. And it's very cool that, like, just playing Legacy has given me access to doing stuff like this. Like, this qualified me for an RC and a PT for the second time now, so this will be the second RC and the second PT that I've qualified for solely by playing Legacy. So enough bragging. We're going to talk about this list. So that's the reason we're streaming today instead of tomorrow, is because I managed to get second place. I recorded all my matches, so we're going to just be doing a matchup review. I usually like to do, or not matchup review, a event review, whatever I call these. What did I call in the title? I think I just called it like the qualifier review, whatever. I did say matchup review, so whatever. We're going to go through my matches that I recorded, and I'm going to talk about the plays that I made and all the mistakes that I made and stuff like that. And we're going to start by talking about the deck and the choices that I made. And also, I'm very sorry. I wanted to get a sideboard guide out for this list today to plug alongside the stream, but it's just been a hell of a week for me so far. So I will work to get that out before the weekend. So people that are going to Baltimore, Baltimore, obviously not super helpful to have a sideboard guide for this list as much because paper, we have pre-war, four-more, blah, blah, blah. We can complain about that too. But I will be talking about some of the changes I would make to play a deck like this in paper, why I've made some of the decisions I have, and hopefully some of that information will transfer over. And then, for those sickos that still want to play online and want to play D&T, this list, I will have a sideboard guide out for this list. If you want a paper list, you can go subscribe to Acolyte's Patreon. He always has pretty frequently updated sideboard guides as well, and I believe his has paper inclusions like formal wear and stuff. Hey, okay, thanks for the Prime sub, and SSBM Pepperjack, thanks for the Prime sub as well, appreciate it. Hey, Nicole, how's it going? So anyway, I'm sure I've forgotten to do something. I also I remember that I forgot to do a channel or a Playpoint giveaway last stream, so I don't know what I'm gonna do about that. Maybe I'll give away 2 today, maybe I'll give away 2 next week for like hyping up Dual Commander next week or something. But we'll see. Hey, Green PM 33, thanks for the 413 sub as well. Everything is Jover except my sub. Yes, Legacy time is Jover for the time being. I am likely not playing a match of Legacy outside of Gen Con until the ban announcement, and it's just like I'm off it. I legitimately wanted to cancel my Gen Con trip when we didn't get the ban initially, but Gen Con tickets or Gen Con badges or whatever are just basically impossible to refund. So it's just like, all right, I'll just go. It's Gen Con. I'll have a bunch of non-Magic stuff I can do anyway. I'll have fun, hopefully, and not be miserable playing too much Magic. Anyway. Yes, eagle-eyed viewers like Chylith. There are no Thalias on my list, and I think it's just correct. I'm sorry for all the D&T diehards out there that are like, D&T is not D&T without Thalia in it. Spirited Labyrinth is just way better than Thalia right now in this meta, and the everything that went into building this deck goes into one core theme, which is build your entire deck to be as good versus scam as possible, and then fill in the holes later because none of your other matchups matter. It's a scam. It's a scam world. Yeah, we can also talk about Spirit Labyrinth versus Bowmaster. I think that is like a legitimate thing to talk about. But let's. So I think the main thing to talk about. I want to talk a little bit about Phantom Blade because this card has been impressing me a lot, and I think there's a chance you want to play it in paper, but we'll get to that in terms of like post sideboard configurations for Scam. There's a lot of main deck graveyard hate we can talk about here. There's a main deck Fairy Macabre here that I'll try to pass off as excusable, and then I've been liking this this split of cages and like hand hate, Fairy Macabre, Surgical Extraction, stuff like that. And then there's like a couple weird decisions. There's no Laurent in the main deck. This was entirely predicated on expecting to play against like 50% Scam. This deck list specifically was heavily tuned to be fighting a meta that was like 30 people. I expected about half of the room to be on Scam. I think it ended up being 13 people on Scam out of 30. And it's just so this deck is definitely a little over tuned to fight Scam, and going into like a blind event, even a challenge, you wouldn't expect 50% probably. You expect more like 30%. So you can tone it back a little bit, but I do think a lot of these decisions that I made are pretty defensible in terms of just like you're allowed to play a lot of these cards in Legacy, and they're not horrible. Like the second copy of Lion Sash, like the Containment Priest main deck, and even like the Fairy Macabre, you can kind of get away with in Legacy right now. We're going to a win and duel this weekend where I expect a lot of Scam, but much less than online. How much game do you think you need to expect to cut Thalia? I don't think Thalia is very good, like, in Legacy right now. Like, we can go through all the matchups in, like, popular Legacy and talk and discuss where do we think Thalia looks actually better than Spirit Labyrinth right now. And I think the answer is just almost none of them. Like, Spirit Labyrinth has 3 power. Like, it's better versus the control decks than Thalia is. It has 3 power, so it like trades a little bit better versus Eldrazi. A lot of the Eldrazi cards have 3 toughness now, instead of like Thalia First Strike doesn't really defend you very well. Notably, Thalia First Strike, when paired with like a White Orchid Phantom or something, you can get by as a better defense than a 3-1, obviously. But just like versus Eldrazi, you'd rather have something with higher power. Versus Control, you'd rather have Spirited Labyrinth. Versus Scam, you'd rather have Spirited Labyrinth. Versus Delver, you'd rather have Spirited Labyrinth. Because specifically Frog. Like, Frog is the reason you want Spirited Labyrinth. Spirited Labyrinth came back, or I guess showed up for the first time. People were like kind of high on the card, myself included, when it got spoiled in like 2015 or whatever, and then turned out to be unplayable. And it came back during the Dreadhorde Arcanist era. And I stand by, like, this card was better than Thalia during Dreadhorde Arcanist era. And Frog is not Dreadhorde Arcanist, but it is very similar. And I think Spirited Labyrinth plugs a lot of the same holes that we were having problems with during the Dreadhorde era. Which matchup is best for hardcast Fairy Macabre? Unfortunately, I didn't get to hardcast any Fairy Macabres during the showcase. It would have been very funny, but like that is my legitimately bad defense of the card. Is like, we've main decked Remorseful Cleric before as this just kind of like extra piece of graveyard hate that has a mediocre body attached to it, right? And this is just that, right? You can cast this card in black-white. This is Wind Drake with the extra mode of like you get this main deckable effect paired with Recruiter the Guard especially. So you can like on turn 3 versus Scam, if you get that far, you can cast your Recruiter the Guard and go get Fairy Macabre to have some shields up. Like, that is the reason that I'm main decking this Fairy Macabre right now, and you're not just main decking like a Surgical Extraction. This card has other modes. It has synergies with Recruiter of the Guard, stuff like that. It's like not it's about as embarrassing to register as something like Remorseful Cleric. And God, Remorseful Cleric sucks. The Containment Priest has very minor synergies, like only synergizes with Wisp. And obviously, it doesn't no anti-synergy with Yorion, because if you play Yorion, you can just flicker out the Container Priest along with the rest of your creatures in order to have them all come back. that was a moto bug for a long time that they then fixed. And I do think 2 sash is just very, very good in a world without formal wear, at least, because your first sash will get answered a lot. Talk about how supposed frog fanatic XJ Cloud not playing a frog deck. Yeah, I mean, it's just a blue card. I'm not gonna. I hate casting blue spells more than I like frogs. I'm sorry. Without the the commitment to 4 Karakas changed at all? I don't think so. 4 Karakas is mostly like Yorion loops have been the biggest gain for Karakas since Yorion's addition to the deck. Just like when you get the machine of Karakas, your Valon 5 Yorion, it's just like obscene, and the downside is like pretty low. You don't have to double Karakas yourself super often. What else did I want to say? I mean, even though Yorion, Karakas is not Karakas, I would not play 4 Karakas or like 3 Karakas in 6. I would maybe play 3 Karakas in 60. You'd probably play like 2 or something. Yorion is the big reason to play Karakas. There are not a lot of legendary creatures on the opposing side of the battlefield anymore in Legacy. Their show and tell like died. Karakasing Atraxa versus Scam is fake. It's not gonna. It's very rarely gonna win you a game, especially now that they have Frog, because you bounce the Atraxa back to their hand, and I picked up a Frog and an Animate Dead off of my Atraxa, and I guess I'll just make a second Atraxa. Weird. Karakas is only good like versus opposing decks in like very fringe cases in this stage. Like, not often you want to Karakas your opponent's Uro. Sometimes you do in control matchups. It definitely gets to that stage. On occasion. Especially sometimes they're like really, really light on ways to actually kill you. But anyway, I'm getting a little bit sidetracked. I barely defended my Fairy Macabre. I think Containment Priest is in a similar boat of like, it's playable enough. You like the thesis of the deck, I guess I said already, is that you want everything to be good versus Scam, but very specifically, I wanted my 2-drop slot to be as good versus Scam as possible. Because the ways you lose to Scam are so much more. They just go into they just play Black Reanimator, right? They just go into and then reanimate their giant thing, and then they kill you. D&T is very good at winning the games where they go like Grief, reanimate Grief, take your 2 best cards or whatever, or like Grief, you try to play a frog and like forcibly removal spell, or like play these like really grindy games. D&T is good versus those, so you want to shore up your ability to die on turn 3 as much as possible. So that's why we're playing stuff like Spirit of Labyrinth, stuff like a bunch of like main deck Lion Sashes, Containment Priest, Emperor of Bones. You want to play as impactful things as you can in order to try to stay afloat. And in game 1, it's still kind of impossible if your opponent knows what they're doing. Like, it's so unlikely for you to ever beat your opponent, your Scam opponent, if they just opening hand has just like Entomb Reanimate, and you didn't like win the die roll, and you have your 1 of Containment Priest or your 1 of Fairy Macabre in your hand. It's just so hard. But like that's always been the case playing versus Reanimator decks. You just go to the sideboard and you hope your sideboard cards are good enough. If nothing is sacred, just cut basic planes. I mean, we need to cast our spells. I've thought about trying to make like a very much like black heavier Vile Yorion deck, but it's a lot harder. Anyone banning Grief tonight? I mean, and I fucking wish, huh? Oh, I just realized chat isn't on the screen, huh? Why does chat just like randomly break for my OBS sometimes? It's very annoying. And then I'm just gonna like boot it up next week and chat's gonna be back. It also means that my notifications aren't on. So Tattering my own sales, thanks for the follow. Appreciated. I think that's the only follow I missed. WotC's been responsive to bullying in the past. Have they? Except for the one time we bullied them into banning the cat. What was it? Felidar Guardian? There ban announcement. No bans. Next day. Sorry, I meant we banned Felidar Guardian. Sorry. That was a really funny, like, 24 hours. We meant to ban Felidar Guardian. Oopsie. me see if I can get chat back, huh? This is not chat. God, why does this never fucking work? He meant my good friend Cauldron Familiar. And yeah, I couldn't think of the stupid other cat, Felidar Guardian. Did they ban Cauldron Familiar in a format? Did that get like banned at Standard or something? I don't remember. Everyone watch closely in case he doxes himself. Oh no, it is here. This did work. Thank you for typing that, Patrick, so I could fix chat. All right, chat's back. We fixed it. I should probably move this countdown timer up because there's usually like a little matches thing. Oh, nope, that's chat. Let me grab this. But we will not be playing any matches today. We will simply be talking about the matches that I played in the showcase. What else? Phantom Blade. Phantom Blade has been really, really good for me online. I literally went and bought one after this event. We'll see like a bunch of Phantom Blades come up across the event in a second. But this card might just be playable in black-white, even in paper. I think it has some tension with Formalware in terms of, like, Formalware is going to often be a removal spell that you need, and this card is clunky. Like, 5 mana is a lot when they kill your Stoneforge Mystic. It's kind of annoying, but there are a lot of cases where I wanted a Phantom Blade. And it's just, like, it's not bad. I don't know. I don't know how to feel about it. And the way I was sideboarding, which we'll talk about more, the way I'm sideboarding in online is I'm cutting the Cauldron Complete, and if I had GTA in my deck, I would be cutting it too. So in paper, my Stoneforge package was 1 Lion Sash and 2 pre-roll Formware, and that was it, because I had no Phantom Blade or Cauldron in my deck. And then when you have a Grafdigger's Cage in play, your pre-roll Formwares are obviously textless. You just have the 1 Lion Sash, so if your Lion Sash gets taken, there's just like a lot of tension with like the Cage plus pre-roll Formalware plan, and maybe that's like a reason that you don't want Cage as much, but I kind of felt like it was a reason that I wanted other tools to tutor in the matchups, because sometimes you do need to do that, like answer their sideboard juke stuff. Like if you have turn 1 Cage versus Reanimator versus Scam, you're covered versus the Entomb stuff, and then they go turn 2 Frog, you need something like a removal spell. You don't want your only thing to be a Sash, and now like 1 or 2 textless pre-roll Formalwares. It is really nice to go find a removal spell to like deny their plan B. So like maybe that just means you play the Phantom Blade in paper too, to like get around this like Grafdigger's Cage dyssynergy. Maybe it means you only play like 1 pre-war Formalware in a world where you want a bunch of cages. I'm not 100% sure. But maybe at the end of the stream, if I'm not too tired, we'll talk about the changes I would make to paper. I think the big ones are, in paper, you just expect less Scam. You probably just don't main deck the Fairy Macabre, because you're not winning a lot of game 1s versus Scam anyway, especially when you're flying blind. You don't know you're against Scam a lot of the time. The Laron's just going to be like better in the main deck. You can flip-flop these two, and then be pretty confident that like, the rest of these cards are good. So you can swap, Sash for a pre-war Formalware. And then that might just be it. You just fit Macabre for Laron, Sash for Formware number 1. You could maybe like move the Priest to the side and play a different card in the main deck or something like that, and just like play a little bit less scam heavy stuff. But I think other than that, I would not make a lot of changes. I'm definitely going to try Phantom Blade even in paper and see how it goes. But yeah, also again, cannot sing enough praises about Emperor Bones. Emperor Bones is just... People want to talk about like Felia and D&T all the time. I cannot stress enough how much better a card like Emperor Bones is than a card like Felia. Obviously only in the Black Splash. Felia is probably certainly still playable in some capacity in mono white, but like this card it does so many things that Felia wants to do and just absolutely can't. Like much better top deck, like because it has the immediate ability to activate versus when you draw your failure, it's like, okay, now I'll wait a turn before I get a flicker or something. You have like this incidental graveyard hate. You have the ability to build from 0 board state that Felia doesn't. It's just, this card is way better than a lot of people think it is. It's very unassuming, but I'm hoping that like between me and Akaleth and Miranda, people start catching on to like this card being like the real deal in D&D right now. Other than that, a couple of my sideboard decisions, I played a bunch of Mindbreak Traps because there were like 4 different combo players, and my matchup was much worse there, so I shaved some of the White Orchid Phantoms, which are like only really nice for like Eldrazi and Cloud Post and stuff. Matchups that you would expect to see more in the average field than just random bullshit combo decks. So you can definitely like move back to a more balanced list with more White Orchid Phantoms or something in the sideboard. These Mindbreak Traps are pretty narrow and don't actually do a ton versus a lot of the expected combo decks even. I'd maybe even like play more Deafening Silence than Mindbreak Trap right now. But other than that, I think this list is just like very close to what I would play just because the meta is hell right now. It just sucks. I went to a 1K the day before the showcase. It was like 14 people or something. 5 of them were on Scam. It was just still like a third of the room was on Scam. It was just a nightmare. Just like the Legacy is so bad right now. It is truly rancid, and I plan to not play anymore. But anyway, enough of me talking about how bad Legacy is. Let's talk about how much winning I did instead. And let's get into the matches, huh? All right. So I screen recorded all my matches so I can fast forward a lot easier than just doing Moto replay bullshit. Although it doesn't work if this doesn't want to play for whatever reason. Hello? Fine. I see how it is. Let's just bring it up again. So I mostly wanted to go over these. One for myself, because it's always one of the best things you can do that I definitely don't do basically at all, but certainly not enough, is go like review your own matches and see where you made mistakes and try to learn from those, rather than just like mindlessly jamming the 8th league or whatever. It does do you a lot of good to go back and see where you went wrong. If you figure out what non-legacy format your Pro Tour will be, I have no idea. They haven't announced it yet. They haven't announced the format or location for. I am playing the first Pro Tour in 2025. Is it Pio for sure? I heard like people say maybe Pio or probably Pio, but I have no fucking clue. They bring back Block Constructor. Anything is better than my fucking Arena PT, which was standard historic, right after Streets of New Capenna. God. Oh, they're fixing it so that the RCQ season feeds into the same format RCs, feeds into the same format PTs or whatever. That would make more sense. It almost makes too much sense. I would expect WotC to not do that, but I guess it's been like 2 years or something, so I guess they can finally make a decision. They still do arena championships and 0 people care. Oh wait, what's going on here? What? Oh, because the countdown timer's not in front of the text, so it looks funny. You fix the grief timer. There we go. Much better now. Yeah, I'm expecting like mid-late February or whatever. Anyway, so my first matchup is against Achilles. Notable Legacy Maverick one trick. I breathed a heavy sigh of relief here. Sorry to Achilles if he watches this later, but when Achilles won one of the LCQs and got in and tweeted about it, I went to my group chat that was talking, like my my testing group chat, and I was like, thank God, I have one potential buy in this event, because D&T's Maverick matchup is incredible. And then we queue into a round 1, so I actually got the round 1 buy, or as close to it as I could. Like, the only matchup that I feel super confident about in, like, the entire room. Anyway, we have a mediocre hand, but mediocre is probably good enough here. We're on the play. We have, like, Mom and removal spell. So this hand's just going to be very good on average. Spirited Labyrinth's a little awkward. It's kind of a blank piece of cardboard, but the rest of the hand's good. Anyway, I need to figure out how to fast forward through these more efficiently, because if I hit these arrow keys, I think it goes like 20 seconds. Which doesn't work. Or the arrow keys just don't do anything, huh? Let me just skip forward easily. One spot at a time, find Windswept Heath, Savannah Hierarch. Can I like just play these at higher speeds? Speed times 1.5. Here we go. Now we're cooking. And we draw another removal spell, great. So, very minor thing that I always talk about when I play against Maverick is just, like, you almost never want to fight over the mana dorks. It's just not going to be... It's not a fight that you want. Your games are going to go forever. They're going to hit their land drops eventually, so I'm not going to, like, just spend my turn plowing this Hierarch and hoping that they don't have more mana. We know that they have another land at hand, at least. I would rather kill a 3-drop than... kill the mana dork and then have them play a 3-drop a turn later. We draw a land, which is nice. I don't want to expose my potentially only black source to Wasteland, so we just play Karakas instead. I'm kind of curious on what the rest of his hand was there, because like it's like Green Sun for 2 for oof on that board is kind of weak. It's like, this is my only activated ability in the whole deck. I almost like didn't want to Skyclave it, but it was just the most efficient thing to do with my mana. I could have like played Spirit and fetched a tap land or something, but Lion's Sash is good at clocking here behind the Mother of Runes. Eventually permanents will enter the graveyard and we can start killing things. Yeah, and then here are the 3-drops you actually want to answer. Ember of Bones, notably not very good here. Also, Felia not very good here. Eat the land before we plow the night. Give them 1 less life. I think that's it. Yeah, and then I decide that fetching a Surveil land is better than like just casting Spirited Labyrinth here. Notably, this is Surveil land, could potentially find something to like activate this Emperor of Bones profitably. I probably should have fetched here, huh? Just surveilled sorcery speed, just so I could eat another thing. Deal an extra point of damage. I can't imagine there are a lot of... I guess there may be some decisions that are worth holding off on the surveil choice. Like if I get wastelanded and I like mill the land instead of keeping it on top. This protects my black source from a wasteland here as well. Speed this up more. Oh yeah, this was kind of annoying. This is just like natural Talon Gates of Madara. I probably should have just activated this on Sash. It doesn't matter, because obviously they're just going to kill this before Mom phases back in, but I don't know, there could have been something weird that happened. This is me tanking on whether I'm supposed to eat the Outland Liberator or like keep it in the graveyard for potentially bringing it back with Emperor of Bones. And then I realized that my opponent's deck has no artifacts or enchantments in it. I have what is likely Achilles' list or something very close to it from the LCQ is what I'm looking at. Don't want that. It's kind of awkward that we don't have an answer for this Fiend Artisan, but also Fiend Artisan for 1 turn isn't unchecked. But the beats? What beats? Get back a 2-2, attack him? Maybe it goes to Knight and we can attack him with a 3-3 or whatever? 3/4? I don't know the size of that thing. What do I do here? I would probably play Spirit, fetch Scrubland, put Yorion in hand or something? Or Emperor of Bones. Yeah, that looks right. I think MTGO should make the players manually track day night. Please no, please never. Day and night should definitely die forever as a mechanic. So yeah, we do leave them with this Fiend Artisan for one turn, but honestly, Maverick doesn't have anything like super threatening that they could potentially Fiend Artisan here. We can just Yorion and eat the Fiend Artisan or like the thing that they go get. There's no removal spell to Fiend Artisan into. I guess in the face of other runes that doesn't matter. You could get like a Grist or something, but then we just mom to defend a thing, and then if they just make a insect or whatever, we can Yorion the Skyclave, eat the Grist. Potentially even attack the Grist. Question is kind of annoying because it attacks for 6. It's kind of beefy. But I'm still feeling pretty in control here. Like, the Yorion endgame is just so messed up. What do they even get? I don't remember where they get here. Reclaimer? That makes sense. We top deck the absolute nuts here. And it's been a while. This is me thinking about like all the twos. This is literally like my thought process of like in ×2 of what does this recruiter do now? It gets a 2-drop or it gets Solitude, right? You saw me like hover over the 2s and hover over the Solitudes. Like those are basically my options here. And then I realized that like recruiter get Solitude here is absolutely nuts. You just recruit Solitude the Fiend Artisan, put it under the Emperor of Bones, and then you can hold up the Emperor of Bones activation protected by the Mom. So that on Achilles' end step, we will get back the Solitude another thing, and then the Solitude will remain in place so we can untap, cast Yorion, and flicker the Solitude so it gets saved from the finality counter, and we just remove his entire board and he dies. That's my thought process there. Second with a 12-card sideboard impressive. 11 cards even. We have a Deafening Silence too. And I did some like hemming and hawing about whether or not I'm supposed to just not get the Solitude back with the Yorion and just kill Fiend Artisan, kill Reclaimer right now, but this Reclaimer doesn't actually do anything threatening. It's Maverick. It doesn't actually have any like thing to threaten me with. The Talons of the Gates of Madara is already in play. He could potentially have a second, but he's also Hellbent here, so like he would need to top deck a removal spell and have a second Talon Gates to like phase out the Mom and kill a thing. And this is just like, God, Emperor Bones is so good. It's so hard to flicker your Solitude or your Skyclave with Felia. And it's just so easy to Emperor of Bones your Solitude and just get extra removal spells. Just check if Grief blocks Questing Beast. I mean, I guess technically I think it does, right? Power 2 or less, I think. I should be fast forwarding through these parts where my opponent is thinking. Tank, attack with Questing Beast, do nothing. We get to end step, get back the Solitude here. I'm very excited to not see Wasteland there. Wasteland would have made my turn a little bit more awkward. We obviously would have just like made the Solitude, killed the thing. We're at 7 life. I don't think we get to have the luxury of hoping to draw land or whatever. And then we get to cast Yorion here and just end my opponent's life. I opt to attack with Emperor Bones first because I don't need to flicker this one. If my opponent decides that they want to trade Questing Beast for it, I would be fine with that. we're flickering a Recruiter to the Guard and a Skyclave and a Solitude, so they're just gonna die. My opponent sees the writing on the wall for their creatures and just chump blocks to save 4 life. We get to Yuri on our whole board. I forget if I flicker Emperor here. I think I should. Yeah. Because like nothing actually matters anymore. My opponent's just dead. What do I even get with this Recruiter? Another Solitude? I should have actually stacked these differently, because yeah, I'm going to go get another Solitude. This is something that I fucked up. I don't know that it actually matters here, but I should have resolved the Recruiter. If my opponent was paying attention, it wouldn't have mattered, and maybe like maybe it was on the radar. If I stacked differently, they would have just like played it a little differently. But like, I can give my opponent an opportunity to misplay if they let the Recruiter trigger resolve. If I let the Recruiter trigger resolve first and get Solitude, and before they've like picked up the Questing Beast to protect it from the Skyclave, then I could potentially Solitude the Questing Beast in response to the Caractacus activation. I don't even know if I would, but yeah, the way I stacked him, my opponent very obviously does the thing. We just get Solitude as extra insurance to not die to like random stuff, and the game is just over here. Yeah. I think this is me rechecking. My opponent has no artifacts and enchantments for me to lure on. I think about this White Orchid Phantom, and I decide it's probably better than a Spirited Labyrinth, and then I think about this Fairy Macabre and how it's probably worse than like a Spirited Labyrinth. And then I think I end up playing Cage instead of it. Yeah. 1 Cage is probably fine versus Fiend Artisan plus Greenstone Zenith. That's about it. Hand's terrible. Hand is much better. I think I bottomed the land here. Bottom the fetch. Keep double basic. Cast all my spells. Removal spell. Thoughtseize, Emperor Bones is nice. This was a really annoying hand to Thoughtseize, because this stupid Renegade Rallier was so annoying. What are the games where D&T loses to Maverick look like? Unanswered Knights? Yeah, basically they have more threats than you have removal spells. Maverick doesn't really have a lot of good card advantage engines is the issue, so they are generally the aggressor. They have much bigger creatures and can attack you down. But anyway, this Renegade Rallier was super annoying because like if I take any of these other cards and my opponent draws a fetch land, I just get annihilated. So I kind of just have to take the Renegade Rallier even though I absolutely don't want to. Like all 3 of those creatures are much more annoying than the Renegade Rallier is. Draw Stone Fortress is really good, but obviously we just kill the Knight first. Probably could have honestly, maybe I could have left the Knight there. Probably not. I think it's like Gaia's Cradle, whatever. They cast their whole hand. Probably unwise. What would I do here? Kill the Knight and Stoneforge for Blade here. Makes sense. This is just a removal game. My hand is all removal spells. I'm just going to continue killing all my opponent's creatures forever. They have a turn of Reclaiming, but I don't really care that much. I think about the options for this Reclaimer. This Reclaimer can go get Talon Gates to save the Fiend Artisan, so it's really awkward what I have to do. I think I end up upkeep Path Reclaimer, or like wait to see if he like he's not gonna activate end step ever because he knows about the Phantom Blade. But here I can just Path the Reclaimer, force like Talon Gates activation. I don't care about this Reclaimer too much. So if this gets the Talon Gates out of the way, so be it. He just opts to let it die, which is kind of interesting. And then I just Phantom Blade the Fiend Artisan. Hey, Judy Jared, thanks for the resub. Appreciated. Draws a Knight, which is really awkward because we are out of removal spells finally. Get in my 2 points of menace damage. And then play the Emperor with the... And then, yeah, this is where I realized that, like, I fucked up there. I was supposed to play the Emperor pre-combat and eat the Fiend Artisan. Not that it probably doesn't matter a ton because I'm just gonna... I have to wait till next turn to activate the Emperor Bones anyway, but then I'm like, wait. This is something that does come up a decent amount when you're, like, tanking on your play, and then it's so often that you just want to go to attacks and then cast your spell on second main, but Emperor Bones, it's beginning of combat trigger. You just always want to play it first main for obvious reasons. Just hope that this doesn't come back to bite me, which it honestly could. Like, this Knight could easily just go get, like, a Bog, right? Like, Bog Self, prevent the Fiend Artisan from coming back. The Fiend Artisan is a very slow way to answer anything, because I would have to end step, put the Fiend Artisan into play, untap, activate the Fiend Artisan, sack something to go get, like, Skyclave on Knight, or something like that. So, like, it is a plan that is, like, very, very far off in the distance, but my cards aren't really lining up to do anything else. And then obviously I'm not playing these other cards because my opponent has Wasteland and an active Knight, so my plans are just going to get obliterated. Yeah, this is the thing about Knight, is just like, when you're playing as Maverick, Knights aren't that threatening. It's just like, okay, this drew a card. It's not like, okay, I'm going to make Merit Lage and kill you. It was an interesting choice of Dismember that I think I just, like, got by it. It got in my head. This Dismember, like, very clearly means they have another removal spell for the Emperor, but I'm not even sure I'm allowed to make any other play other than, like, my opponent fucked up. I'm like, okay, I will play a land, get back Stoneforge Mystic, and, like, Cauldron you or something? But if my opponent's last card is a removal spell, then nothing is gonna really get better for me anywhere. Yeah. Like, if I just spend that turn adding Yorion to my hand or whatever, all my lands are gonna get wastelanded anyway. My opponent has Maze for their Knight, so they can actually start attacking me and still activate the Knight. Things are bad. We're getting towards hardcast Solitude, hardcast Yorion, and, like, Yorion plus Phantom Blade could definitely get me somewhere. There's the threat of, like, Talon Gates protecting this Knight forever still. We've drawn another land, which is nice, because we're going to have to cast one of these spells. And then get Wastelanded, and then cast the other. So the plan here is to cast Solitude. I think he was supposed to Wasteland me, like, before. It doesn't end up mattering here, but, like, not letting me get to upkeep here so I can Solitude this Knight and force it to get, the plan, at least, is, like, Solitude Knight, force it to phase out, or whatever, force them to get the phase out land. It comes back, I untap, play Yorion, flicker Phantom Blade, flicker Solitude, and just wrath the board again. Except that plan doesn't work because I get Thoughtseized. And also because the Knight doesn't phase back in until afterwards. But even then, I'd have, like, a Solitude and a Yorion and a Phantom Blade. It would be, like, maybe okay. But instead we get Thoughtseized and we just instantly die. But we're on play game 3. Much better. Hand is good. A little awkward, but a little light on lands, but we have double basic, so we're not gonna get, like, wastelanded out of the game. We're gonna be able to cast all our spells here. I find this very bad looking hand. Like, obviously it's fine. You get to, like, green set for Dryad Arbor, cast your opposite Changing Questing Beast, stuff like that. It's just like, you thought one of those hands that you thought, and you're like, okay, this hand does nothing anymore. I'm firmly in the driver's seat here versus 4 lands, 3-drop, 4-drop. Lush Portico Pass means we get to just Stoneforge Cauldron, so you get like three draw steps at a removal spell or something. They did top notably, but then we draw second Stoneforge, so now we're even more insulated into just like Stoneforge Cauldron plan. Top to Green Sun Zenith. And we draw the third land, which is perfect. We can just Cauldron, kill the Reclaimer. It's a little awkward. We ramp them into this Questing Beast, but also the Questing Beast doesn't matter because we're just racing them. We have a second path. We have another Stoneforge Mistake. Everything's great for us here. We're completely fine. Just have to remember to play around Opposition Agent with this Stoneforge Mystic that we have. If he decides to like just go Nurturing Peatland Go or something. Draw more Stoneforges, which are still good. Still happy to see all of these. We go get removal spell time. Kill this. Pretty confident he only has one basic in the deck, but also just pathing now gives me 1 point of damage. The game is like pretty over here. Our opponent's a 9. We know 2 of the 5 cards in hand. They're basically nothing. We have a removal spell lined up. We have like more powerful threats. Opponent is deep in the tank trying to survive here. Fiend Artisan ain't gonna cut it. We just Emperor of Bones, Phantom Blade, Fiend Artisan, equipped a Stoneforge, attack for 7. Sounds about right. Put you to 1, or put you to 2. Yeah, if you want to cast Oppo, you have to go to 1 life. We have 4 lethal attackers, one of them as Menace. Then this game is over. And then my opponent dies shortly, I think. Yes. Okay, they just die. We did it. We won our first match. A couple of these I almost forgot to hit record. Then we play against Mental Misstep round 2. Someone that I was chatting with, someone on my unofficial team or whatever you want to call it. Stefan, who we will later see in the top 8 spoilers. But he is on Scam. We know each other's exact deck lists. He's on Scam with Grizzlebrand as part of the Entomb package. Thank you, Jarvis, for causing that one. Grizzlebrand definitely makes this matchup worse. You can sometimes beat an Atraxa trigger. You can basically never beat a Grizzlebrand activation. as D&T specifically. One thing to note about the Scam matchup is that I fucking hate mulliganing versus Scam. Some would say that this hand is a mulligan versus Scam. I would say, yeah, I probably should have mulligan. But my opponent's going to 6. We have Mom into Stoneforge into Sash. Notably, we're on the draw, but it is what it is. We have a bunch of fetch lands for if we get, like, Grief Scammed or whatever, we just get a bunch of Surveil lands and try to find more spells to cast. I think this is, like, a defensible keep. Me and Stefan bantering. He said, yeah, when we were going in, he like wished everyone in the chat good luck, and he said, like, unless you're playing me, then I hope you mold a 4. Stefan knows what this matchup is about, though. Very often you will see, like, when you're playing against... I should just let the matchup play while I talk instead of pausing it. You'll see a lot of Scam players just, like, keep very mediocre hands versus Death and Taxes instead of just Entomb, Reanimate, Kill You. I talked myself into a weird play here, which I don't think is correct after thinking about it. If this Polluted Delta were a like a non-black fetching land, I think I'm better started playing the Wasteland here, because often one of the only ways you want to cheese is like, okay, they have to like fetch Underground Sea, Entomb, untap, Reanimate, And if you wasteland them, it's like, hey, maybe they kept a 1-lander, or hey, maybe they kept a 2-lander that only has the animate dead or whatever, and you can buy yourself a couple of turns that way. But with the Polluted Delta, he can just fetch basic swamp and do all that, so this wasteland does nothing besides prohibiting me from casting this Mother of Runes this turn. But he also just doesn't reanimate me, or doesn't entomb me, which is great. Grief exiling Entomb, however, is terrifying. Usually means that there is a second Entomb in the works. We draw more bad cards. Surprise, surprise. Fetch basic swamp. Cast not Entomb. JK, a little bit of a surprise. Frog. We top deck Recruiter. I look at my opponent having 2 cards in hand. And I go, well, this frog is good. If they have days, they have days. We die. I'm going to cast my Recruiter. Hope for the best. Notably, the not casting the Mom on turn 1 actually coming up pretty huge here, because if I'd cast the Mom on turn 1, I guess that's not true. They just have the Fatal Push in hand. We would have almost certainly cast the other Mom on turn 2 after losing the Stoneforge to Grief, though. And then we might not have the white card in hand for the Solitude. Which, no days, no force. My opponent has 2 cards in hand, and we're okay. We're afloat. We can get wastelanded, that's fine. Our hand is all lands, and we top deck Lion Sash, like a good Magic player should. And we're very insulated from basically everything now. Hello, kitty. Stefan's list has 1 more Fatal Push in the main deck as a potential answer to this Sash. So I think I should, if I don't draw anything... Oh, I do draw something. I was about to say I should reconfigure the Sash. Playing fast and loose here. I think I should have taken my time and just equipped the Sash to the Recruiter. Play around second Fatal Push, because it's like one of the only things that beats me. We draw Wisp, which is nice, because it's a way to, you know, proactively make our own board better. Without having to, like, just... It makes the board... Like, it adds 3 power to the board and also goes and tutors more relevant stuff. I think I would grab Macabre here and just feel extra safe, right? We have Sash plus Macabre up. We're not losing anything. The Frog's not even that scary anymore. We have a flyer and we have, like, the Graveyard Lockdown anyway. We have a bunch of jump blockers. And we win. We win game 1 against game, which is huge. This has been my sideboard plan versus Scam, like, all the time, basically. Cut all the... Like, Scam is very interaction light, even in post-board games, and I just find I almost never want to top deck a Mother of Runes. So in order to keep the deck condensed as possible with, like, good draws and good cards that matter, I've been cutting all of the Moms. If you have bad cards in your deck, you can cut I would cut them over the Moms. Like, I'd be cutting, like, Thalias or whatever before. But Mom is just the next worst card in my deck. Because I want a bunch of Spirit of the Labyrinth and Stoneforge Mystics and Emperor of Bones and Skyclaves and stuff like that. Again, easy keep. I'm allergic to mulliganing for Scam, but also this hand is just fine. Again, I can't stress this enough. You always just want to have early interaction for Scam to prevent yourself from dying on turn 2. That's why I was flickering madly over the Swamp of the Thoughtseize there. How frequently do you cut Witch Enchanter? Not often. I think this is like the only matchup I do, because I needed one more cut, and it gets Thoughtseized all the time. Or not it gets like Thoughtseized or Griefed or whatever when I needed to be a land. It's like a little suspect to be cutting the 33rd land versus Scam, which is a matchup that often like does involve wastelands and stuff. But the way that this 95 is configured, I had like one too many cards versus Scam coming in versus going out. This was a tough Thoughtseize. There's like Force and Grief as protection for like this Frog, this bunch of cantrip. Like I can't just like leave them on one land after this Ponder Shuffle. Because if I take the Ponder, they can easily just like brainstorm and find the second land or something, and then Grief me, cast a Frog. I end up taking the Frog and hoping they don't find a removal spell because they have double protection, right? They can either Grief my Plow or Force of Will the Plow if they just like rip land Frog. I guess if they rip land Frog, they can't. If I took the Force of Will, potentially they couldn't. But like if they just spend a turn sculpting, cast Ponder or whatever, cast Brainstorm, and then have like Grief into Frog on turn 3. Really kind of sucks because this would have been a really good hand to play turn 1 Vial versus turn 1 Thoughtseize, but obviously you can't know that until you Thoughtseize them. And my opponent's hand could have easily just been, oh, Entomb Reanimate. The Surveillance are also just so good versus Scam. Just the ability to like get your hand shredded and have a little bit of sculpting in these like intermediate turns when you don't have if you don't have things to do with your mana. The reason I've gone down to 2 Prismatic Vistas for more normal fetches is because like fetching both of the Surveil lands versus Scam is just so relevant. And it did Grief, and then there's the point where you want your Surveil lands, right? My opponent's hand is Brainstorm, Force Will, Brazen Borrower versus my... This was the, I think, worst possible card on the top of my deck. Because I can't keep it because it doesn't do anything, right? It's just I'd rather mill it and draw the card underneath than draw the Shadowy Backstreet and play it, and then look at the top card of my deck. But also, by milling it, I have turned off my other fetch land for the Shadowy Backstreet. I don't think there's a single other card in my deck that would have been worse to see here. Because, like, any bad card you mill, any good card you keep, but this is, like, the only card that you don't want to mill and you don't want to keep. Deeply frustrating one there. And then we just, draw more lands. I have to just put Yori on my hand, because, like, we're pretty fucked here. There's a good likelihood I just need to jam this Yori on turn 5 into the Force of Will or something, just to get some action going. Or potentially this Vial will go up to 5, depending on what we draw. Spirit of Labyrinth's not bad. I double check, see if he wants to counter my Vial. With Force of Will plus Brainstorm plus Unknown, I'm expecting this to get Force of Will, but then it doesn't, so... I thought you were gonna do smart. No, I moved my stream from Tuesday to Wednesday to do EDH, but then I moved it back to Tuesday because this is my normal stream time. Because I don't have to wait a day to do matchup review, VOD review. And then the Unknown card is Fatal Push, and that's why he didn't Force a Will the Spirit of Labyrinth there. You can just Fatal Push plus Brainstorm instead, which is obviously much better. Luckily, this Animate Dead on this Grief instead of Reanimate severely hampers the clock. I hem and haw a little bit about whether I'm supposed to cast Yorion or cast Spirit here. I think I just play Karakas, slam Yorion. Specifically playing the Karakas instead of the fetch because we get Dazed here, which is pretty horrible, but I just really need to get like a flyer in play. Maybe that's wrong there. I don't know if he has the Daze. I know he has the Force though, so like waiting a turn to cast the Yorion and just casting it next turn and getting it forced if we drew like a 3-drop or something. Much harder to double spell. I think it's right to jam there. The reason I don't want to fetch is because This puts me to 9, which would put me to 8 if I had a fetch, and he's gonna cast Brazen Borrower here, which means the next turn he attacks for 5 and puts me to 3, and then the Brazen Borrower kills me if I don't find an answer. We draw Cage. This classic tension of Scam, where sometimes you find your graveyard hate cards when you're getting beaten down by the fair plan. We still have like a decent number of top decks that let us live here, though. Like Skyclave, Recruiter, Solitude, Stoneforge would maybe do it, maybe not. And then we just draw land and die. Kept the days over another brainstorm because you thought you were gonna jam. Yeah. I think it's probably correct to jam. Not jamming and getting forced is just so much worse. And we roll up for game 3. I forget how long this takes. Not very long at all. Game 3, this hand is not great, but keepable, like most hands are. Notably, like Double Wasteland can line up pretty well versus Scam some of the time, especially when you're on the play. So I'm like pretty happy with this hand. Obviously, it doesn't have Vile or like the Graveyard Hate, Fairy Macabre, Surgical Extraction, but you're never allowed to like mulligan for these cards. Your opponent just like grief scams you, and you mull to 6. You have like Surgical Plow or whatever. At least I have like 3 good spells here, right? Grief Pitch Animate Dead, which usually signals that you're going to get grief scammed. Nice thing about having Double Wasteland here, though, is that he has to fetch the swamp here, which means we don't have to play around days. So we just get to do this thing where we both have 3 cards in hand. And JK, he has a Force Will. I forgot how some of these games go, and then we draw 3rd Wasteland, but like, feeling okay here. This is a 7-turn clock. We have so many top decks to get out of this. Another one of those cases where I just add Yoran in my hand immediately, just because getting it griefed is not something that is super on my radar. We start to flood out horribly. I start to sweat a lot that this grief is just going to kill me twice. We mill another land. This spot, God. Is this the spot where I fucked up? Yes. This spot made the game spiral out of control in a way that was like really, really uncomfortable. I'll wait to see myself do it. Yeah, I play the Wasteland. I should have played. If I play the Karakas, this game goes, I think, so much better for me. But playing the Wasteland means that if I go Stoneforge Sash, I have a 2-1 and a 2-2, or a 2-1, a 1-2 and a 1-1. Sorry, which means that I can't double block this. I double block this grief and lose both my creatures. Whereas if I play this Karakas, I just go Stoneforge plus Sash and be able to eat a thing. So I have a 1-2 and a 2-2. So I can double block the grief and only trade 1 away. And if the Sash dies, I can then untap Yori on the Mystic, go get a 2nd Sash. And if the Stoneforge dies, then obviously then I can just keep Sash, then I'm fine. But then I played the fucking Wasteland, and then I'm kicking myself here. Yeah, I mouse over the Karakas. Like, god damn it, what did I do? I think better for longer. And then this isn't even a formal war moment. I would have gotten Sash there. I guess after playing my Wasteland, maybe I get Formalware to Formalware back the Spirit of the Labyrinth, but then the Spirit just dies to the Grief, and then I guess I untap and have a Yorion, and then I Yorion the Formalware, and yeah, never mind, that's great, yeah, never mind. Well, it's only a Formalware moment because I'm stupid. I would have gotten Sash if I were smart. Stoneforge for Phantom. I hate that play because that just spends 2 of my 5 mana to do nothing. It's just so slow. This just gets me a bunch of creatures in play. If I just Yorion here, it plays around like Fatal Push a little bit better, which I know is one of his only removal spells. This lets me wait to get like Stoneforge plus Sash. I can even eventually just Karakas the Yorion and flicker the Stoneforge to go find other stuff. But now I have all my white sources here. I have 3 creatures to block this Grief now. There are a couple like minor fumbles here that I don't think end up mattering. But they definitely could have. It's good to point out when you really fuck up here. This Thoughtseize was a really interesting draw. I sit here thinking if I can like Thoughtseize plus pick up Yorion and recast Yorion plus, but then I can't Wasteland in that situation. Wasteland here to play around Daze, right? If I put a spell in the stack, then he could save his blue source and potentially cast another spell with it. I guess I do think I fucked up here, but maybe I actually didn't, because maybe there's no way to, the dance between Sash and Psychic Frog is like a little awkward sometimes. Like you saw, he eats his own graveyard there to prevent the Sash from doing its thing. But if I had like not activated the Sash first and I Thoughtseize, there's no reason to activate the Sash first, I don't think. And then for some reason I activate here thinking that like I'm good because I got activated again, and then I realized that that's not going to work. He's going to discard his whole hand and he's just going to eat all the permanents, and it's not nothing's going to break my way. So I waste a mana here. Although I had to activate it at some point to force this activation anyway. So I'm not exactly sure. But he just discards the whole hand of Frog, which kind of makes sense. Just make the Frog as big as possible. This Thoughtseize is going to take like the only relevant spell, which is like a Borrower. Also notably did have the Daze. So like if I had cast the Thoughtseize, he probably would have dazed. Keep the UC alive to replay to potentially borrow something. Although I guess it doesn't work because then I would have just taken the Borrower or whatever. But you get it. You get a top decked a blue spell. We're now at least conveniently in a stage where we can make a 4/4 Sash, fend off the Grief. We could fend off this Frog. Went back to my replays and thought about this for like 20 minutes. It's really complicated. Yeah, a lot of our games were like really tough. We had some really excellent games of Magic, honestly. I say as you like have played this whole game on one land and just you've cast like 2 spells. I guess I haven't cast that many spells either, right? You got to Grief reanimate all my spells away, and then all I had lands, but then all you had was spells. So, you know, trade-offs. This game breaks a lot better for me if I had just cast Stoneforge into Sash on that turn with Yorion. I tank for a while. I don't remember how long I actually tank on this attack, but I have to, like, figuring out the optimal block here is a bit of a doozy. I think it's just kill Grief Chump Block Frog, right? Because I realized that Yorion holding Sash is lethal in 2 turns without me having to attack until the final turn, right? So I think about, like, double blocking Frog or whatever and trying to kill it, or... But this means that, like, I can keep Sash and Yorion alive here. I make Sash a 4/4 off my own graveyard. Stoneforge just chump blocks the Frog here. I think about, like, worlds where I, like, block Sash plus Stoneforge on Grief and put the Yorion on the Frog and then pick it up with Caracas. So I can, like, replay the Yorion, flicker Stoneforge, go get, like, Phantom Blade for the Psychic Frog. Yeah, if you don't go, like, all in on the Frog, then you can go all in on your own turn to guarantee the flying activation, yeah. But then you have the situation where Yorion can get put in front of the Frog, potentially. So this way leaves me with Sash plus Yorion, and Sash goes to 4/4 here, gets 3 counters, which means if I draw a white source, I think it's just lethal. Is it? This is 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. No, I'm off. It's lethal over 2 turns. I just have to wait. So I just have to I equip Yorion and pass to fend off the Frog, or I probably, like, sorcery speed, eat Grief or whatever. Yeah. He gets to decide if he wants to discard his last card to prevent me from getting this counter. It doesn't change my clock at all, because even if he does do that, then we have 3 counters. We still have, like, 4, 5, 6 counters here. And then we have 7, 8, 9, 10, 10 counters, which gets us to exactly 14. Also, he top decks the Murderous Cut here. If he top decked Fatal Push, it would have been so much worse for me. But the Murderous Cut was definitely off. So now we can reconfigure onto Yorion, so Yorion can block the Frog forever. And now this sets up lethal next turn, where we prevent, or, like, it sets up the Frog has to chump block or he dies this turn. Because we just end step, eat 3 of our own permanents, untap, and we have double wastelands, so we wasteland our own lands to create more permanents for Sash to eat. So I'm feeling like there are no outs for him with 1 card in hand. I don't think there are, at least. Obviously, you could, like, draw land, chump block, draw, like, Macaw, or draw, like, Bar or something, but no outs to actually, like, win this game at this stage. Oh god, this game would have been so much fucking easier if I had just cast the Stoneforge on, like, turn 5 or whatever, huh? Or if I had played my 3rd white source on turn 5. And then we eat all of our own permanents. We did it. Oh god, fucking stressful ass game. Stefanos is a really good Magic player. Just for how little game actions my opponent took, it's just so hard to win that game. And then, what do I play against round 3? We play against Larson. Known cephalid breakfast aficionado. They play a ton of breakfast. I don't know this person outside of just, like, MTGO, but also they had played against Tristan last round. So I know what deck they are on as well, which is Nadu Elves, surprisingly. So this hand is great. Hey, Cora, thanks for the 4-month resub. For some reason, my sub notifications are broken, but I appreciate the support. Ban Grief, indeed. Nadu Elves. I haven't played against like old-timey elves in a long time, so I'm not sure if like attacking the mana was the correct play there, but I kind of liked it with like the leading on Savannah and having double Wasteland, but it's possible it's just like wasn't good. And you just want to conserve all your removal spells for like the Nadus and the Nomads and the stuff that matters. I see if my opponent wants to take the trade. They don't. This is a matchup where I really wish that I had Umezawa's GT in my deck. And then I think I grabbed the Phantom and the Cauldron at like totally wrong times this matchup. I'm like, I fumble this matchup a lot, I think. I think I'm supposed to get Cauldron here and just try to kill my opponent with like Solitude back up, but I opted to try to go on the removal spell strategy, which is maybe a little loose. I also am not fully confident I know my opponent's list because I didn't actually go find the list that I found later when I saw them in top 8, and I was like, I need to actually dig up their list. I thought this was like kind of like Glimpse Elves adjacent, where they had like Natural Order as a potential payoff here, but no, my opponent was fully on just like Court of Calling plus Greenstone Zenith for Nadu and Nomads, and there's no like Crater Hoofs or Natural Orders or Atraxes or anything. Ugh. My lands are not lining up in a way that I would like. Also, decide between like Skyclave Nomads here or Phantom Blade Nomads plus like Vial plus potentially Hold Up Solitude if I need it for emergencies. This is not a matchup I was confident in at all. I had not played it ever. Battle Mom online. The hope here is that I don't have to cast the Solitude and I can untap and like have Skyclave plus hopefully like a new white card or something, so I can still have multiple removal spells. And then my opponent plays Nadu into Gaia's Cradle into Court Calling. So we absolutely have to fire off this Solitude. Gritter's not bad here, but I'm not sure if I'm allowed to let my opponent untap with Gaia's Cradle. I think I'm supposed to just slam Recruiter, go get Katama Priest, and pray my opponent misses for a turn. Or I could Wasteland Gaia's Cradle and pray that I draw a land, because that also hits the same breakpoints, right? We still get a Recruiter when we have a Violent 2 for Katama Priest. So I think I Wasteland this turn. Just to try to shut off some potential, like... Not, they don't have... I guess they do still have Greenstone Zenith mana for Nadu, but then they have Court of Calling mana for Nadu. And this is also stupid. I'm supposed to let them draw like 20 cards or whatever so I can see their deck, and then I realize that they don't have Natural Order, but I just concede because I hate watching Nadu go off. I get super bored. Luckily, I've brought 3 Grafdigger's Cage to this tournament, which happens to be really, really good versus my opponent's deck. So we just get a bunch of removal spells, and we're still, like, relatively happy. Still very bummed that we don't have, GTA in this matchup, though. GTA is, like, the actual nuts here. And it is awkward but fine. I opt to play the Backstreet over, like, Thoughtseize into, Pray we draw an untapped land. And then here I grab the Cauldron Complete when it's like I think the Phantom Blade's probably better here. And then my opponent plays Springheart Nantuko into Allosaurus Shepherd into Wirewood Symbiote. I'm like, damn, I wish I just had more removal spells in my hand, huh? Like, very specifically, like, bad decision making of, like, last game I probably wanted to get Fury, and then this game I probably wanted to get, like, it was like, or last game I probably wanted to get Cauldron Complete, sorry. And then this game was like, okay, now I want to get Cauldron Complete, because Cauldron Complete is good, and then I probably should have gotten the removal spell instead, just based on, like, handed board context. Always starting with Thoughtseize here, basically. You want to make sure there's no, like, Nadu. Look, there it is. My opponent's hand is only lands, which is nice, but boy, with my opponent's hand being a bunch of lands, would it be nice to just be able to fucking blade this Nantuko at least. But then we have to contend with Allosaurus Shepherd plus Gaia's Cradle, but that's beatable. We have, like, Path to Exile, stuff like that. Recruiter of the Guard. I think about pathing this Allosaurus Shepherd for a little bit before I realize that this Wirewood Symbiote's protecting it. Which means I think I just end up passing, hold up Cauldra as defensive Cauldra, because at least it, like, blocks the Allosaurus Shepherd, which is kind of nice. Lets my opponent get 2 insects, but the insects are, like, fairly inconsequential as far as things go. My opponent already has enough mana off the Cradle to activate the Allosaurus Shepherd. We can beat 1/1s fairly easily. That 1/1 is scary because it means that any top decked Quarter Calling or Green Sun Zenith or Nadu is instant death. I guess, yeah. This is just an attack for 6, right? Because my opponent can pick up Allosaurus Shepherd with the Wirewood Symbiote to protect it. And then the other 2 creatures get in for damage. If I had, like, a Solitude here, I could potentially punish. I could Solitude the Symbiote and then block a creature and kill it, but I don't have Solitude, unfortunately. We draw Wasteland, which is really, really nice. Wasteland means that we stop getting annihilated by this Shepherd for a little bit. We know my opponent's last card in hand is Tropical Island. So I think this is the turn where I just recruit a Containment Priest and Clench, because Containment Priest cuts off, like, a bunch of my opponent's access to answers. The following turn just lines up really well, where we get to, like, play Stoneforge for Phantom Blade and then hold up Phantom Blade or Containment Priest, depending on... No, I would have to Sorcerer Speed Containment Priest to play around. Quarter Calling. Do we still need the hashtag Grief is just getting banned along with Nadu? I mean, yeah, but I will keep up the appearances, I guess. Nadu will get banned in Modern, Grief will get banned in Legacy in 33 days and 12 hours and 36 minutes and 14 seconds. Jeez, it's really pouring outside. I don't think you guys can hear it. I fuck up this block a little bit. I'm supposed to block just insects and not block the Nomads in Core, because the Nomads just gets to activate and target the blocked insect token. They just lose 1 less creature. Blocking the Allosaurus Shepherd here is maybe also wrong, because it... no, because it keeps the Recruiter alive, because they have to pick up the Allosaurus Shepherd to protect it. And then it also keeps the Recruiter alive, which I don't want to trade for an insect. We draw Solitude, which is very nice. I think I will just end up Containment Priest plus Stoneforge for Blade. And we're, like, treading water here. My opponent still only has these 2 elves, so and we have the Cauldron. The Allosaurus Shepherd isn't, like, ending my life, even if they top deck Cradle. Sorcery Speed, Containment Priest, they know about it, so it doesn't matter, and also plays around the Court of Calling. We generally don't have to do versus normal elves that just have, like, Green Suns and NOs. Nantuko targeting Nantuko, however, is horrifying. at least this means that it's just more insects. We get to fetch the other back street. I think I was supposed to mill this, and I keep it on top. I think I'm supposed to mill that to find a land, because I really just want to start Yorioning my board and killing them. And like keeping this recruiter is so awkward because this turn's so locked up with like Stoneforge plus put in Phantom Blade already. Recruiter can find a land, but not this turn. I would rather like cast Stoneforge, put Yorion in hand potentially. I'd sit here and decide on what I want to Phantom Blade, but there are 3 real targets, right? Symbiote, Nomads, Springheart. I don't know if that was right. Oh yeah, this is fine because we have Solitude as emergency measures to target the Nomads. Maybe I think that's why I kept the Recruiter on top in the moment. I think I kept it for like white card for Solitude more than I wanted to land at that stage of the game. But yeah, if they top deck exactly not Nadu on that turn, then we have Solitude to answer the Nomads to stay afloat. Although now that they have Symbiote plus Quarian Ranger, they're still drawing a decent chunk of cards, even if they found a Nadu at some point. Is Elves much better now because of Nadu? This is like a new deck, so I generally don't know. This deck did well at a challenge, and they top 8'd the showcase, so like there's potential for a list like this to do well. I have no idea if this particular like list is the way to build it. Did not realize we're watching a video. Yeah, this is we're watching my showcase matches from Sunday. Break down all the places where I fucked up. Draw 5th land, which is nice to hold up Solitude here. As much as I really want a Yorion in my hand, Yorion's not quite good enough, I don't think, because it only really flickers Recruiter plus Phantom Blade here. We have no more tutor things to get with Stoneforge. So it's literally just like 1 Recruiter trigger plus 1 removal spell, and 1 removal spell on this board's like not super exciting. So I want to get a Solitude in play and then potentially draw like land 6, and we could like Recruiter plus pick up Yorion or something. Holding up the Solitude here is just really nice, especially when your opponent does this, where they activate their Allosaurus Shepherd and send with the team into a Solitude, which blows them out quite badly. We get to Solitude Wirewood Symbiote here, which means we then get to block out and kill Allosaurus Shepherd with the Cauldra. We get to chump block the other 5/5s with these Stoneforges that I just mentioned are no longer relevant, and we get to kill a bunch of the 1/1s. I learned from my previous mistake on blocking Nomads and Core and block all the insect tokens instead. My opponent's 1 card in hand. This is me trying to figure out if it's a land that they picked up, and then eventually I figure out I think it's like Tropical Island, so I don't need to cast this Thoughtseize. Again, whenever I have Recruiter, I look at my 2s, see if I can get anything relevant. I can't really. It's a little awkward if my opponent top decks Nadu this turn with this Nomads. It's possible that even last turn I wanted to. This shove was a tiny bit ill-advised, I think. I think I should have left back like 1 creature just in case, but there's nothing that actually kills me here, I don't think. I thought about it for a little bit. I thought, after I made this deck, I'm like, oh shit, top deck Allosaurus Shepherd kills me, but I don't think that's actually true, because I think that this Fintorn Elves ends up having to be tapped anyway to attack me, so it's only an attack for 7, and I'm going to 11. Hey Darth Dog, how's it going? Because I'm not casting the Recruiter this turn, I'm picking up Yorion to try to end the game next turn. Giving my opponent another 1-turn window to find exactly Nadu. This is is me doing Allosaurus Shepherd math, mousing over my opponent's lands. They have to tap 4, 5. They can play the Tropical Island 6. Then they cast the Allosaurus Shepherd down to 5. They would have to activate Quarian Ranger to untap the Defender and also tap it again. And it turns out they died. So we did it. I think that previous turn where they shoved all, I'm maybe supposed to Solitude the Nomads anyway, because I'm pretty sure I can just beat the Allosaurus Shepherd on board. But I'm not 100% on that. Maybe not. Maybe with like 3 Elves it was too much. Because like I had to chump block both those 5/5s, right? If they had just like untapped and done it again. While I kill the Nomads, I'm not sure if that works out for me. I'm not happy about this matchup. I go into game 3. I'm just hoping to have an opening hand with like Grafdigger's Cage or something, because this matchup seems very scary. My opponent takes a really long time to sideboard here. Really long time. I guess they stepped away for a moment. Oh, there we go. Pre-war formal. It's a meme at this point. The card is extremely good in Death and Taxes, and we're just not allowed to play it online. Quite unfortunate. This hand is fine. It's got removal spells. It's got Vial, which is always good. It's not the one-man artifact that I want here, but... My opponent, game 3, I discovered that that they have Elvish Visionary in their deck, which is pretty scary in terms of this hand. Sloth Sync plays well. It's really impossible for anything to in Fallout to see play in Legacy. Just like people are probably playing Sloth at their Legacy FNMs and whatever, but like, is any of it good? God knows. And we draw Cage. Incredible draw here. So we're not dead to a bunch of like random bullshit chords and Green Sun Zeniths. This is pretty scary. I'm very scared of like Cradle. So as much as I don't want to. Notably, this isn't the end of the world because we have this Emperor Bones. If we find a black source, putting the Solitude in the graveyard proactively is not that bad. Yes, Pre-War Formula is very, very good. I think most D&T I think all D&T lists for the rest of forever will be on 1 copy. Most D&T lists will probably be on 2 copies. It's kind of a running joke in the D&T community because we can't cast the card online. We draw Black Source, but it is tapped Black Source, so it's been a really nice turn to draw Scrub Land instead, so we can get back the Solitude. Kill this Nomads. Now we're shields down on a Nadu turn where we could instantly die, but such is life. This matchup is very tense. We also find, like, actual best possible on top. This Flicker Wisp means that we keep this on top. We just don't Emperor. We untap, or we end step, put in the Emperor, untap, put the Vital 3, draw the Wisp, and then we get to put in the Solitude, kill a thing, and then Flicker Wisp the Solitude, kill another thing, and keep it around, so we get to answer both of my opponent's, like, threats. So, Solitude, this Flicker Wisp is amazing. I opt to not put an Emperor of Bones. Maybe my opponent attacks with 1/1s. Obviously, exiling my own card. Exiling a card doesn't matter here. We can exile the Solitude the following turn. We just need to hope that my opponent doesn't draw Nadu. I think I'm doing math there to see if I get, like, Craterhoof Behemoth or something if I'm supposed to, like, wasteland them. This is terrifying, and we cannot do anything about it. Next turn, at least, we can turn off the Spring-Hearted Spring-Heart and leave them with 2 regular Spring Hearts, and then, like, Solitude being a 3 power, 2 toughness lifelinker versus an army of 1/1s is nice. We get to eat a thing here, which is also nice. I mean, like, one league where a card doesn't show up doesn't mean that, like, a card is bad, right? Emperor is really, really good addition to the deck. So now we have Flicker Wisp on top, and my opponent very smartly... I'm waiting to resolve these Vial triggers, and they are using the last card in their hand, which is this Boseiju on my Grafdigger's Cage to... If I want the land, that I have to shuffle away at the Wisp, which is rather unfortunate, but I really need that Wisp. As much as I would like a land for, like, Yorion. We just choose not to search, so we can go to combat here, get the Solitude the Spring Heart, attack, Flicker Wisp the Solitude. I think I would target Nomad here. Opponent has a lot of threatening things, but, like, in the next 2 turns... I don't know why I attacked with this 4/4. Oh, there's a lot of 1/1s to attack me with. I guess I have a 3/2 on blocking duty already. 3/2 lifelinker, so, like, attack with a bunch of 1/1s playing is just not good. My opponent has no cards in hand. We've wastelanded them off of blue. I was not supposed to wasteland here if I'm going to Solitude this Nomads. This was another misstep here. Could have blocked Nomads just to make them do it, right? It's just the same thing, though, right? It achieves the same thing, but my opponent has to, you know, click on their Nomads twice or whatever. I'm not going to time them out. But notably, I don't want to wasteland this Tropical Island if I'm not scared of Nadu, and I'm not scared of, like, obviously Nadu is still a scary card, but, like, I do need this wasteland. If I don't draw another land as this file goes to 5, I can't Yori on my board. So I think I would just Solitude this Nomad and not wasteland. Because we really want to get to Yorion so we can Yorion, Flicker the Solitude and the Wisp, Solitude the Spring Heart, and then Flicker Wisp the token Spring Heart, so we can just kill all the relevant things on their board. So that wasteland there was not a good choice by me. And then they immediately draw other Nomads, which is at least means that they can't top deck the stupid Nadu itself. They have to find Green Zenith or Cord. Stoneforge is a really nice draw because Stoneforge means that we can go get Phantom Blade and add even more bullshit to the massive Yorion Vial thing. But also it means that we didn't draw the land, so we need to draw a land next turn if we want a Yorion. Things are not great. GTA mode. Yeah, it's definitely, like, this is definitely the GTA matchup. I would have loved to go get a GTA and just annihilated my opponent's whole board. And then we miss on land. I cry about it. I Phantom Blade this Nomads. I think about what I want to put the Phantom Blade on. End up on Emperor of Bones, I think, honestly. Yeah. Because I'm just trying to push damage at this point and erase them. Emperor. Putting on Emperor Bones means it can't just get chump blocked. Solitude gets in this turn, maybe? I don't remember. I think I wait one more turn to attack. If they take all this damage, then, yeah. The next turn they have to block Solitude, which is nice. We're still somehow alive. We still don't draw land, but we draw Recruiter, which is incredible because Recruiter can either get Solitude to save us or get Containment Priest to save us if my opponent draws, like, a Court of Calling or a Green Zenith or something. So Recruiter, while not a land, is still just an incredible draw step. I bet post-Grief GTA's back. And they're like, yeah, wouldn't surprise me. I think GTA's probably good against a lot of the Nadu decks. And we managed to live there. GTA is likely good versus a lot of the Nadu decks. It's passable versus Delver. It's probably pretty bad versus Eldrazi. But I would definitely like start exploring GTA being back in the deck in a post-Grief world. So we're 3-0 in the Legacy Showcase Qualifier, which is just, I was expecting to 0-3 drop this, and now suddenly I'm sweating. Oftentimes if you go 3-0, you can just even like lose, and your breakers are still great and you get in. But not always. Which means this next match is definitely a sweat. We play against Andreas Peterson, Echo Baronen. I don't know how to pronounce it. Almost assuredly just on scam. Hand is fine. Hand is okay against scam. This is where I fuck up from last time. We were about Nadu decks, which did be better than some black -1/-1 effect. I mean, it depends on a lot, right? In a post-Grief world, step 1 is like, do I want the black splash at all? Step 2 would be, do I want my like a Plague Engineer style effect? Because like, if you're in a post-Grief world, red splash looks a lot better if Nadu is the card that you're scared of specifically. Mono white is potentially like still very good. Did he troll about Grief or openly support a cheater during my match? No, he just did his like weird, very positive shtick, where he's like just annoying, really annoying about it. This is the exact play that I made against Stefan for no reason. I don't make here for no reason. It just I'm really bad about like I don't know. When you see a play that like you think is good, and then you realize that the other play was better, and then a similar but slightly different state happens, and you're like, oh, I made this other play last time and it was wrong. I'm going to make this play this time. Like the Phantom Blade Culture play from before. This is the exact scenario where you just want to play Wasteland here, because this bomb doesn't fucking matter in this matchup, especially with 3 Solitudes in my hand. It's likely better to be pitched to Solitude than be in play anyway. And like, if I'm going to cast Entomb, I just need a Wasteland and Pray anyway. This was just really stupid. I don't know why I did this. Ugh. Always remember to take a step back and breathe. Make your decisions very thoughtfully, especially like your very first one. And then we get Entombed. Entomb Atraxa, reanimate before playing land drop. Notably, could have had the second land in hand already, obviously, but you never know. Will this be available as a VOD later? Yeah. This will all be on YouTube and as a Twitch VOD afterwards. Notably, this is a 3-card Atraxa, so this is like kind of beatable. This is just instant. You can't really see it very well, but this is just instant creature land. Gets Wasteland, Grief, Entomb. But notably, the Entomb is probably pretty bad for me. Also, he did have the second land, so we were probably still very dead, because he plays the Delta after grabbing Wasteland. So the Wasteland play wouldn't have saved me, but it would have put another white card in my hand to potentially like Solitude. We also draw Caracas here, so we're like kind of live still. He didn't grab any of the Psychic Frogs. There were like 2 or 3 in that pile, so there's less of a chance that he's able to discard the Atraxa. Entomb, Archon, cast, animate, dead, blah, 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 blah. Kill your mom. Again, this mom just, like, attacked for 1 and then died. Would be much better as a white card to pitch to a Solitude here. if he doesn't have, like, Frog Reanimate or whatever, we're okay. We are afloat. And then Brainstorm is bad, because Brainstorm means it tracks that can go back in the deck and be Entombed or, like, Undercity Sewers. We don't draw Container Priest or Lion Sash or Fairy Macabre. Unlucky, really. Yeah, and then third Entomb, blah, blah. Brainstorm, I think, just reanimates and we die. 1 month away from the trolling no. Yeah, there's absolutely no shot. They were so pressured by people complaining about how bad the formats are that they had to take their announcement day today and say, we're not doing anything until this date. No, you're in hand to pitch solitude. I want to fetch Shadowy Backstreet there. If we Shadowy Backstreet for Frog, we're not dead. And then Force, which means we probably are dead. You are... I can't tell you how wrong you are, but feel free to think that. They're absolutely going to ban a card. We do our same sideboard all the moms stuff that we've been doing. His hand is extremely good versus Scam. Finally, one of the first like actually good hands versus Scam. We played. This is the fifth game versus Scam, and I've just hit keep every time. This is the first one where I'm like, yeah, I think I have a good chance of winning this game. Just my frustration with Scam is that like I think my Scam matchup is okay, but I have no control over how good an individual game will go because you're basically just never mulliganing. You just have to keep your hand and hope it's good enough against your opponent's hand. This is finally the first hand where I'm like, yeah, this is good. All right, I could win some games here. Taking the Container Priest here is like pretty scary. Makes me think that we're gonna get like turn 2 Brazen Borrower, turn 3 Entomb killed or something. But casting Brainstorm here is nice. Gives me another. It means that there's no Frog this turn. It means that there's no Brazen Borrower for Cage this turn. Gives me some time to breathe. Ember Bones is nice. Gives me a nice play here. Ember of Bones. I talked about like Cage being pretty anti-synergistic with pre-war formware in a pretty notable way. Ember of Bones is so good with Cage, like locking down graveyards, but also like doesn't lock down your Emperor of Bones. It's very nice. It comes up a lot. Now we get to like exile their Grief, potentially get that back next turn and grief them. Gets go for the Throated. Sad, but we're still fine here. This is a point where I would pick up Yorion, yeah. If my opponent's pretty likely to have like Hardcast Grief lined up, but we have a bunch of good cards in our hand. I start sweating a lot on that Upkeep Atraxa. Upkeep Entomb Atraxa. It's just to shovel the Brainstorm or whatever, but like every time my opponent puts Entomb on the stack, I'm like, oh god, we're just gonna die. My opponent's just gonna like Brazen Borrower, Cage, reanimate, we're just gonna lose the game. Entomb on the stack, just fucking red flags all immediately in my head. And my opponent just passes with 3 mana. We get to breathe for a turn. I'm content fetching, holding up potential Hardcast Solitude, potential just fetch Shadowy Backstreet, Sculpt, try to find a second thing. And we get Hardcasted Griefed here. I debate on whether or not I'm supposed to cast Solitude on this, but I don't want to trade it for a Daze. So just, if my opponent wants to take Solitude, that's fine. If they want to take Skyclave, that's also fine. I will just fetch Shadowy Backstreet here. Take Yorion, which is also fine, I guess. There's no way to protect that anyway. I mean, not picking up Yorion protects it. This Thoughtseize was kind of interesting. I keep it because I kind of want to Skyclave this Grief, but I don't want my opponent's last card to be like Fatal Push or Go for the Throat or something, and then they have a 4/4 Illusion I have to deal with. So this lets me Thoughtseize, make sure the coast is clear, they don't have any bad cards like sitting around. They just have an Archon, so now we just get to Skyclave this at least. Yeah, people just aren't really. A lot of people are not having fun playing Legacy. The main people having fun playing Legacy are the people that just love winning and love playing like the best deck. And they will continue to have fun in the next meta when they go and play Nadu or Grixis Delver with Frog or whatever. I fuck up here too, and luckily don't get punished because I could have got severely punished. Kept me counting my opponent's lands. My opponent is 1 mana away from casting Archon of Cruelty. Which means I'm not supposed to cast this Lion Sash. Because it means that I don't have white card and I would have to discard the Solitude and I would just die. Yeah, I agree, Stefan. I think Grief is just awful gameplay, and I would like to see it have the delete from everything forever treatment. Because no one likes playing against it at all. But also because it is extremely powerful in addition to being just grossly unfun to play against in Legacy specifically. And like pre-Image 3 Modern was a similar case. Maybe even post-Image 3 Modern. I don't pay enough attention to Modern, but I think Grief is still pretty playable there. But like, deleting Grief from the world forever would be a net positive for Magic, certainly. This was really stupid. Don't fucking cast the Lion Sash here. We are dead if my opponent finds a land. And cast this Archon. But luckily, I do not get punished. Skill game. Now we can just have 2-turn clock. We're fine. Now we're allowed to cast the Sash because we have another white card in our hand, obviously. I would sack this Skyclave to the trigger and Solitude the Archon, whatever. Blah, blah, blah. This Brainstorm notably means that my opponent cannot no longer hardcast Archon of Cruelty this turn, which means we are also free to Skyclave this Brazen Borrower. And then I think we just have lethal. Yeah, this is me counting if I just have lethal. Yeah, he's just dead. We did it. Game 3, though. Almost lost that game for myself. Definitely my game to lose. I've already done that a couple of times in this event. I talked a lot with people about just like the difference between getting second place in an event this hard and like this important. It's just like you got to get lucky. Like you're never going to be able to play perfect. Playing very well obviously will get you further. But like you have to be a little lucky in order to have like a really good weekend like this one. So like sometimes you will play a little bit badly, but like a little bit badly in places where it doesn't end up mattering. You will hopefully play well in places where you give yourself outs to win games and they do matter, stuff like that. But you gotta get a little lucky sometimes. And this is again just like one of those fucking hands, just like, well, This is not a hand where I am confident in my ability to win, but it is a hand that I just need to keep because you're just truly not allowed to mulligan. You draw Vial, which certainly makes the hand better. But I'm fully expecting my opponent to just go Entomb, kill you. And then he fetches Undersea Sewers. Thank the Lord. It's so much easier to win games when your opponent doesn't just cast Entomb on turn 1. If he dazes this Vial, it's fine. Sets him back a little bit. Mill's second daze, which means we probably just never have to play around days again. This Stoneforge is great because it means we can get Sash online. I opted to cut myself off of white here or cut myself off of potential black because I don't want to get wastelanded. I want Sash online next turn, and the best way to do that is to not get wastelanded, right? This way he needs exactly like Into plus Reanimate right now in order to kill me. Still fine here. Very insulated versus like a grief scam turn. Even insulated, like after the Satch gets taken, we can just recruit Fairy Macabre and still be a little bit safe. I'm running to the bathroom after this match, and then we'll maybe do Playpoint giveaway, huh? Well, while I remember. I guess we'll actually go through round 5 before I do take that break. We'll take a break before the top 8 because round 5 is very short. I don't remember how these next couple of turns break down. Opponent just forcing out the Fairy Macabre makes sense. Needs to activate Reanimate at some point here. Or get a Reanimate online at some point here, I mean. I want to see what's going on over there. It is just an Entomb that he can't cast. Because he only has the one black source here. Thank God. We are still alive. And my opponent has 2 lands in hand. Unfortunately, one of them is Wasteland, which is not great for me. But then we draw another land, so we're still fine. We have our horrible clock of a 1-2 and a 1-1. This is a play that I wasn't sure about. I end up kind of regretting, I think. The Solitude on top. I don't want it, but I also don't want to really put it in my graveyard. I end up milling it anyway because I really want to find more protection. And I'm like, oh, I found a recruiter that's more protection. Which is nice because I get the second Fairy Macabre. But it also means that my opponent can force the action on, like, by reanimating my Solitude again. And I have to use the Fairy Macabre, so I've kind of milled the Solitude and negated my own Fairy Macabre tutor. But I get a reanimate out of the hand, so it's not like, still not the end of the world, but I'm still not sure if that was right. I am deathly afraid of just like Entomb stuff, which is why I was like pretty aggressively milling, trying to find Sash, Containment Priest, Cage, Surgical, Macabre, Recruiter, stuff like that. Exile the Entomb out of spite. Also, more importantly, leave permanents in the yard for like future Sashes. If there was another relevant creature that my opponent could have reanimated, I would have taken that too, but like my opponent can't do anything if they reanimate a Macabre or a Lion Sash. They're fully welcome to do that. And then my opponent just dies. They brainstorm and don't have anything. Very exciting stuff. We'll very quickly go through round 5, and then we'll take a break, run to the bathroom, do a Playpoint giveaway, and we'll do the top 8. I know my opponent here is on Eldrazi. They have played versus someone else that I've forgotten. hand is extremely bad. Quite obviously. This hand is also not very good versus Eldrazi, but like on 6, you kind of just gotta keep whatever and hope for the best, right? I haven't played versus the Eldrazi deck a lot. My sample size of this match, we kind of get annihilated. But I'm also, like, not that keen on White Orchid Phantom outside of a world where you also have Formal Wear. Because they have 2 basics most of the time. I was happy when they started cutting the basic forest, but they've since stopped doing that. So they have 2 basics in their deck. So, like, the White Orchid Phantom still knocked them down 1 mana, but it hasn't really felt that relevant, even. It's just a matchup where you want a bunch of removal and hope that they can't race you too hard. More than you want White Orchid Phantom. But it kind of depends on how the deck is constructed. There's the red-green versions that are way more beatdown focused, but then there's also like the mono-green version that has the one of Ulamog, like, inevitability, which is very scary, which is a matchup where you'd want something like White Orchid Phantom more. Life's hard. My opponent has Cosmos Return Wasteland. We just get to cast our Emperor Bones and hope for the best every turn. At some point, this Emperor Bones plus like a Recruiter for Solitude could maybe do something. A 4/4 plus removal spell is like pretty good against Eldrazi. The fact that my opponent does not sink all the mana into the Cosmos Command is horrifying. I think I just draw. Yeah, I draw the Fair Macabre and laugh really hard about it. This is what you get. This is what you get for main decking Fairy Macabre in the scam world. You top deck it versus Eldrazi at game 1. I laugh really hard and I screenshotted it to send to all my friends. And then we die. Honestly, like, if that Fairy Macabre was like if I could cast Demonic Tutor for free instead of this Fairy Macabre, I'm like pretty sure we still lose this game. My opponent scryed 2 cards to the top even. Like, my opponent's gonna tap and cast something even scarier. Like, what's the best card that this could even be this turn? Just like Swords to Plowshares into Stoneforge Mystic? I don't even know. Time to also main deck Battle. Battle's not even that good versus this Eldrazi deck. There's so many like 2/2s. Like Battle missing Flesh Raker is rough. Also, like you have to top deck Battle versus Thought-Knot Seer, because obviously Thought-Knot Seer just will always take it. Swords into Swords to take out both idiots. Yeah, maybe if I could cast Demonic Tutor twice, then we're still in it. I don't know if I'm supposed to keep this hand. I think you're just supposed to... I was thinking that on the play, maybe you can keep a slightly slower hand and like get like Recruiter Solitude online, but... like Recruiter Solitude Wisp online or something, but I think this hand is just going to be too slow, and I wanted to mulligan for interaction. Rather than turn 1 Vial, turn 2 fetch Surveil land. Slight misstep there. I was supposed to fetch basic planes, so use the swap on turn 1 in case we top deck exactly the White Orchid Phantom. Find Skyclave, which is pretty nice. Skyclave can kill this Lord and also pair with all these Flicker Wisps to kill more stuff. We're staying afloat. Wasteland's fine. We have another land. Linebreaker, extremely scary and not fine. I opt to go for the trade here after thinking for a little bit. Trade here so I can just Wisp, kill the token, and then I can trade the Wisp for the line breaker. I take like another 4 damage or whatever, but I'm still alive. And I still have Recruiter Wisp as leftovers. And then my opponent has the worst possible for me, which is not only is it that heralds the end, which means that I can no longer do that trading thing, it's also second line breaker, and we're just literally dead this turn. Luckily, this matchup doesn't matter at all, because we are 4-0, so losing this, we're still very much in top 8. But yeah, I think the learning experience there. This is a matchup that I should have definitely like tested more if I had like really buckled down and try harded this showcase more, because this is definitely like the second most popular deck right now, and the deck I expected like 2 or 3 people to be on. But it's a matchup that I've just only like seen in leagues a few times. I think you just want more removal for it. You just want like fast hands. You just need to be able to like break serve in like the early turns, and then and then stabilize after that. Anyway, before we get into the quarterfinals, let's do a Playpoint giveaway, huh? I'm going to give away 120 Playpoints to one chatter. As soon as I find the codes. Oh, God. Which code did I give away? I forgot last week's code, which means we will be on code 3 today. If this doesn't, I guess if it doesn't work, tell me and I can send you the code that does work. But anyway, let's figure out what are we typing in chat. What's the giveaway code word this week? Something about D&T. Something about the fact that we got second place. Showcase, maybe just like showcase something boring. Maybe just ban grief. We'll just go simple one. Grief sucks. We all want it banned. It's not going to get banned for another 33 days. So, type ban grief, all one word, in the chat. One winner will get a code for 120 play points to redeem on Magic Online. I'm going to run to the bathroom real quick. We will end the giveaway after I get back and see if anyone's still posting. Thanks for watching, everybody. I always enjoy these like more talking about Magic rather than just like me playing some Magic. I get to like really review these games, really like drill down deep, find the misplays, find like the good plays, stuff like that. Anyway, I'll be right back. Everyone get their ban griefs in. Ban griefs in chat. Last call. Where's dog? I don't know. Probably bugging my wife. Sleep under a blanket somewhere. Grief has been banned at least 10 times already. Seems like that should be enough. No, it will never be enough. Grief will be banned, and they should still ban Grief. I won't rest until Grief is not only on the Legacy ban list, but on the Legacy ban list a second time. Anyway, let's end the giveaway. Exclamation point. Giveaway. Winner Peter Pan 226. Congrats. It's the only way to be sure. Exactly, you get it. Alright, enjoy your play points. We do this every stream, except for the ones that I forget. So if I don't end up doing it on a stream, please remind me, because I forgot last week, and then no one reminded me, and then I just didn't do a giveaway. You're saying they should unban it? No, I'm saying they should ban it twice. It should be on. You should be able to go to the Legacy ban list online, and you'll see in alphabetical order all the cards on the Legacy ban list, and right underneath whatever would be alphabetically before Grief, you'll see Grief, and then you'll see Grief again, and then you'll keep going down the list. Will a Grief ban make room for... I don't think Monkey's coming back. I do think Grief should be banned twice. I mean, yeah, some Modern players want Grief gone there too. We were talking about it earlier, just like... Even if it's not a power level thing, it's just a, man, this sucks ass sort of thing. It's just, I don't want to fucking play against this garbage. Can we just get this shit out of here? That's just me every time I play against, like, Oko whenever I play Vintage. It's like, I know this isn't, like, power level wise nearly reasonable, but god, I just don't want to play against this card. Or me every time I queue into Doomsday in Legacy. So we make top 8 at 4-1 here. Very exciting. Unexcitingly, we're playing against Nam, who is playing 60 card 4-color beans. Extremely terrifying matchup. Yeah, the mono black deck turn 3 Grief plus Phyrexian Tower into Ring both games on Friday. Well, yeah, that doesn't sound fun at all. I don't know if I would. I'm pretty sure I would just not want to play Modern, even less that I want to play like Pioneer or whatever right now. At some point, I guess I do have to start playing Pioneer for the Pro Tour in February, but that won't be for a while. God knows if Vampires or Phoenix or Amalia will be legal in 6 months. What do you want? You're not dog. You can come up here, though. You want to say hi to the chat? Come on. Hop up. There you go. Is Amalia just Death and Taxes? I think the red-white energy deck is kind of Death and Taxes. The modern red-white energy deck. Hey, don't rub your face on the mic, please. Cat cam. Oh, wait, no, I can't even see. I don't have OBS in place that's visually accessible. Cat cam? I hope Phoenix is legal in November. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, God knows what will be legal. I don't pay attention to Pioneer. I just know that Pioneer seems to be a 3-deck format, and people are mad about any one of the 3 decks at any given moment. Take your pick of Amalia, Phoenix, Vampires. God, you're getting hair everywhere, kitty. I know if I end up going to the RC, because I qualified for both the RC and the Pro Tour via the Legacy Showcase, I will go there to hang out with friends, and I will register something along the lines of 60 basic lands, and I will drop round 1 and go do other things. Anyway, back to Legacy. Playing against 4-color Beans, a scary matchup. Luckily, this hand is extremely good. Yeah, RC entry is in fact free sometimes. I think it's free for the way I qualified this time. The last time I qualified, it wasn't free because I qualified through an online RC queue. But this time I qualified through the I think they just give it to you because you get the Pro Tour invite. So I think it's probably free, but I guess I'm not 100% certain on that. If I have to pay, I'm definitely not going to the RC. It's red. 4-color Beans with red for 4th Erlingus, which is why it's scary. 4th Erlingus, very hard to answer or interact with in any meaningful way as Death and Taxes. So they have a lot of inevitability in the matchup. Why do you need the RC invite if you already have the PT invite? I don't know. It just comes with both, according to the email. I just get to play in it for fun, I guess. And I could, like, qualify for Worlds if I get, like, top 2 or whatever, right? It doesn't hurt anyone if a Pro Tour qualified player gets an extra invite, right? Because if I top 64, then my Pro Tour invite would just pass on to the next person anyway, so I don't know. Yeah. I mean, if it was fun, I would play it if I enjoyed, like, playing the other formats, but I'm a Legacy 1 trick. Anyway, this hand is just very good versus Beans. Mom, Thoughtseize, Spirits. Force on Mom is excellent given the rest of this hand. Don't unplug that. Get away, kitty. We have just Mom into Spirit into Thoughtseize. Spirit is just all. This is all very good. Force, double Force. This is as good as the start of a game. Of all the matches to not be on ×2 speed, this one needs to fucking be. This match takes forever. Love to also see not casting Beans on turn 2 here. And it turns out my opponent's hand is Plow. So instead of Thoughtseize into Spirit, we just Thoughtseize both the Plows, and we have the Spirit for the following turn. Get out of here, kitty. Get out of here. Pray for no top deck Uro. Pray for no top deck Beans. Oh, she's back. Hey. Do I need to kick you out? Get out of here. Get. Shoot. Come on. Out of here. Out. Luckily nothing's happening. Wasteland here to play around. Last card, Leyline Binding. Also because our hand is switch lands already. And my opponent has Terminus on top, which maybe makes me feel foolish for wastelanding there. We can... I mean, it's not out skill. I think my opponent kept on the Ponder, so like they knew it was there. But it's just a 1-for-1, so it's fine. We get... Stoneforge is really good. We have Yorion in hand. We can Stoneforge for like Sash here. Get a reasonable card in Lion Sash, and then like next turn flicker Stoneforge, go get Cauldron, threaten more stuff. Eat the Terminus here to play around a future, whatever it's called. Mystic Sanctuary, it's Black Equipment, and Phantom Blade. It's murder on an equipment. Not very good in this matchup, certainly. I have to get the second Sash here over the Cauldron because I am a little bit scared of my opponent finding Uro at this stage. And I think I have enough pressure in play already. So then, like, flickering Yorion here lets me play around, like, a top deck Terminus or something. So it's just, like, because I get to end step flicker. It's just better than flickering the Stoneforge for a bunch of reasons. It is worse, a little bit worse versus Plow here, right? Because I have less power in play after the Swords of Plowshares, but after this dies, I opt to just play the Mother of Runes out instead. My opponent doesn't know the top card of their deck, and of course that means we get Terminus instantly. Then there's the outskilling that Patrick was talking about. And we draw Phantom Blade. Everything's going great. I should have eaten the Terminus there as the last card, I think. I really wanted to, like, pressure. Did I have lethal if my opponent didn't have anything? Is that why I did that? This activation would put it to 6/6. Oh, no. Why is it? Oh, it's a 3/3 right now. Put it to 4/4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Draw white source 10. So if I draw another white source, I put them to 1 life. So it's pretty reasonable to eat there and hope that they don't have any answer. And then, of course, my opponent has drawn Blind Terminus into Leyline Binding for your last creature into Uro in that exact order. Just any other order would have been completely fine. We are getting Erd, indeed. But we get to Phantom Blade this Uro. Not the best play in the world, but, you know, better than letting the 6/6 attack you, right? I debate on whether or not I'm supposed to get in the cheeky attack this turn too, and I opt not to. Notably, if we can, like, flicker the Phantom Blade, if we draw the other Flicker Wisp or something, we could... This was a tough one. Because I do what I always do when I top deck Recruit the Guard, which is immediately go back to my deck list and look at all the 2-drops because I have exactly 5 mana and think about what I'm supposed to get. Like, if we had drawn this last turn, we could have recruited for a Fairy Macabre and exiled the Uro. Oh, no, that's not true, because the last turn we hardcast Phantom Blade. Never mind. We needed this, like, 2 turns ago. But we're a mana off, or, like, a turn off on the Vial for everything here, right? We're a mana off of Skyclaving the Uro. We can't, like, we're a white card off of Solituding the Uro. This being exactly Aether Vials of land or a white card, just kind of fucked. I look some more. I think about my different options. Look at, like, Stoneforge for Cauldron. Look at Emperor of Bones. Tank. What? I don't even know what I end up doing. I think it's Emperor of Bones here. With the intent to chump block the Uro next turn. Chump block the Uro with the Recruiter, and then untap Emperor of Bones back the Recruiter, get Skyclave the Uro. This also lets me potentially threaten, like, get back Spirit of the Labyrinth and, like, double block the Uro down. My opponent doesn't have enough cards in the yard currently to bring it back for a little bit. If my opponent, like, you know, stupidly casts a Brainstorm or whatever. Into my onboard trick. Opponent tanks for a long time figuring what to do here. Streamer does 100% of the thinking here. I would hope not. I definitely don't do enough thinking. And my opponent has, like, worst possible. Tank, 4th for 4. Things look very bad. I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to block here based on what he attacks with. I do have the option, potentially, of, like, adapt to Emperor of Bones, block a 2/2 Spirit in front of the Uro or something. Also, they've already played land for a turn, so if they don't put it in the land off this Uro, I get to, like, I get to activate the Mom for free. Like, it just is a free potential block. You can see me mapping out what my blocks are going to look like on this attack specifically. And I think I would just chump block the Uro with the Recruiter and eat a single Knight with Mom or Bones plus Mom activation. Yeah, this 4th isn't obviously winning, but it feels like it's definitely winning. And then he just opts to do this instead, which is completely baffling to me. I did not understand this choice of attack at all. This attack made no sense to me. I was stun locked. I wasn't even sure, like... I thought about just, like, blocking the Uro with the Mom or something, but I was like, oh wait, no, I do need an answer for this Uro. Scared of introducing the Monarchy. Yeah, I mean, he's got 4 cards in hand. I have nothing. We draw Spirit Labyrinth, which is also very good. Like, I don't know what the other 4 cards in his hand are, but, like, I feel like there's an argument for not casting this 4th if this is your plan. Like, you just save it up and jam it later. Like, I just opt to not even answer the Uro because the Spirit's in play now. I just get more value here instead. If I had Allegiance to Ashes hiding under that main deck for Maccabi, yeah, that would certainly get him, huh? This Beanstalk does nothing, but obviously set up to potentially draw a card with, like, a Leyland Binding on my turn, something like that. And now we can go get the Skyclave finally and kill this stupid Uro. But now we're set up in a way that's much more comfortable. We can start attacking. We draw Solitude, which is also pretty nice here. Exile this 4th for Mystic Sanctuary reasons. MTGO needs the little bloop sounds every now and then that prevents a card draw. That would be very satisfying, honestly. I didn't really understand this choice. This choice was very perplexing to me. Leyline Bindings. The Phantom Blade was just didn't understand this choice at all. Prevents like 1 damage. Obviously, you can't successfully leyline binding any of my creatures, but like you could binding the mom and then try to untap and take some actions while the mom's tapped down or something. Leyline binding the Phantom Blade seems even worse than just like binding a vial or something. I don't know. I didn't understand that. Now we have a bunch of stuff. We're allowed to start attacking more. We have better blockers. We have like Solitude plus blocks. Okay, maybe he needed Monarchy. I mean, like, yeah, I don't know what happened this game. I feel like we also top decked Spirit Labyrinth immediately, so like maybe the Monarchy doesn't even come into play this game, right? If he had attacked slightly differently, and then I just top deck Spirit Labyrinth anyway. But definitely felt like he wasn't ahead if he wasn't getting Monarchy here in some fashion. The attack with just Uro felt very odd to me. Come on, Wrath. This guy's... Shut up. Quit rooting for the opponent. I eat this out of habit, even though this card, it can't draw cards and can't come back. But it also just puts lethal into play, so I needed to put a 2-2 into play anyway. And we get there with 11 minutes on our clock and 12 minutes on the opposing clock. Screenshot for posterity to send. Talk about my fucking marathon game 1. But like, I felt like I was going to lose that after the blind Terminus into Leyline Binding into Uro turns, and we somehow managed to drag ourselves kicking and screaming back into it. So we're pretty lightly here. Beans was a matchup that was on my radar, and that's why I brought like the Laron at all. White Orchid Phantom is not very good. Our opponent even showed us basic forest, so they're like we could have like 3+ basics, but I do kind of like attacking their red sources. Sand is fine. Not great. A lot of like reactive stuff. But also we're playing against a control deck who's down a game and who has very little to no win cons, so part of my plan is to just kind of rest on my laurels and make my opponent kill me. Take up a bunch of time. Opponent deciding whether or not he wants to play the Stoneforge Mystic, probably. Just land go here. Maybe Wasteland of Xander's Lounge, yeah. I'm trying to induce something here, because if they like cast the Leyline Binding or some weird shit, then I can just cast Emperor Bones. Say go. Oops. So weird. My decision was going to be wait Emperor Bones anyway. So maybe I'm supposed to. There's nothing to profitably target, but I can at least target like land, start picking away stuff for Uro. So there's a little bit of missequencing. I think about, I very specifically think about shuffling away a Terminus there after that Brainstorm. That Brainstorm screamed Terminus to me. Then I decided that I just didn't really care that much, and I would much rather have the Surgical for a future Terminus. Like, Surgical, this Terminus in response to like the Miracle Trigger of a second. Now we have land Skyclave for beans. Would have really liked my opponent to not kill my Stoneforge after I draw Cauldron, but that's life. We just play Sash here. This is where I put the shields down on Mystic Sanctuary. But we have Surgical for the Terminus. My opponent has 3 Terminuses in their deck. As we'll see in a second here. I get the Snipping Tool ready. Because I'm trying to save as much time as possible. I have 9 minutes 30 seconds, but my opponent's down a minute on me. Opponent's hand is Brainstorm, Force, Plow. I very quickly grab their whole list. I do not see that they have 2 4th Aerlingus because I'm moving really fast here. I'm like, I'll look at this like when it matters. Between rounds, whatever. Or between games when I go sideboarding. Drawing Stoneforge is actually really nice here. Because we have this Cauldron in hand that they don't know about, so they might not plow it if I just go get another Sash. I don't know why I don't cast the Sash there. One thing is Brainstorm, Force of Vigor, Plow, and my opponent top decks 4th, which is very bad for me. My opponent then chooses to attack with exactly 2 Knights, which works out very well for me. Because we just get to do that, untap, and Cauldron them. And here I'm feeling pretty good. We cast our Squire. We have no more things to get. And then my opponent plows Cauldron, then casts 2nd, 4th. I was really only expecting 1 4th Aerlingus. This definitely keeps me, like, afloat a little bit. We're definitely not in the driver's seat this game, but now we have a 4-4. We get to push some more damage. I attack like this. I thought of letting them get the Monarchy so you can take it back with Cauldron. I did not really think about that, no. It's possible that I wanted that. But I generally feel favored in games where the Monarchy doesn't get introduced in, like, a pretty volatile board state where my opponent has a lot of creatures. Not to attack with Illusion for whatever reason. This game is super over, but I forget about the Force of Vigor in hand. I should have like fetched and cast Yorion to make my opponent take a little bit more time here. But I'm playing super fast, trying to play for a game 3 as we do not have a lot of time. My opponent also restarts Moto. I foolishly choose not to restart Moto because I just like wasn't thinking about it. So I hit submit deck again, and I'm like, oh, shit. Now if I restart Moto and he comes back before me and he submits deck, then I burn clock in my game. So I just have to like sit here and wait. But my computer's pretty good. I'm playing on my desktop for the showcase anyway. I get to take this time and look at the deck list here. 2 bindings, consigned memories in, which makes sense. 3 arrows, 1 Murktide. There are actually very little ways for him to close this game. Hang on. Opponent 6 minutes on the clock. I have 6 minutes 30 seconds. This hand is actually really annoying because I like my hand of Thoughtseize Stoneforge for Kaldra and just putting him under the gun. But consigning is really annoying, so I end up taking it with like double force too. Just didn't really work out the exact way I wanted it to, but I'm definitely into just like Kaldra checking my opponent. Also with this Witch Enchanter, Beans players will very often leyline binding the Kaldra instead of the Kaldra equipment instead of the Germ Token for obvious reasons, like Flicker Wisp and Yorion. But with the fact that I have Witch Enchanter in hand means that I could potentially get them to binding the Kaldra and then get it back with Witch Enchanter instead, like we do here. Although my opponent has another force in hand, so, you know, that plan might not work out. But we'll try it. Get Laron to pressure the binding again. I have to wasteland the red source. Notably, one of the things I noticed when I saw their list is that they have exactly 2 red sources in their deck. So I don't want to let them cast 4th and try to actually kill me within their 4 minutes left on their clock. My opponent, I'm trying to figure out if they're just casting 4th for 2 or something here, but it ends up just being Prismatic Ending, which is great for me. Why not Spirit? Why would I get Spirit over killing them? Or, like, why would I get a 2-drop? Because 2 beans. Yeah. I mean, you stop like one of them, right? Because like they're casting Force Wills and Leyline Bindings anyway. If they just binding the spirit, you deny 1 draw and then your thing dies. Not very exciting prospects. This attack was, I think, stupid. I was still in trying to kill my opponent mode when I think I should have shifted gears to just time out my opponent. They have 2 minutes and 40 seconds left on the clock. I should have just not attacked with the Stoneforge. This attack was, like, pretty bad. Because now we don't have a solid answer to the Uro. We have this Spirit, at least, that keeps it a little bit in check, but... the attack was really dumb. I even maybe wanted to just, like, let the Stoneforge die there and not cast the Solitude. But obviously, when you're, like, trying to play really, really fast, shit like that happens sometimes. We have Yorion, and we have, like, Spirit to answer it anyway, so, like, we're not... it's not the end of the world still. Opponent, like, likely has. I think I know my opponent has Force here. I think they like Mystical Sanctuary did it a while ago, but they have double Force, which I definitely did not know about. And we draw another Solitude, which is great. We're still staying afloat barely. My opponent has 1 minute on the clock. My opponent has nothing. Praying to God they don't find they don't find Fourth Aerlingus. They instead find Murktide Regent, thank God, which kills me a lot slower. And we draw Wasteland, which is honestly probably the perfect draw there, because it means that now they can never cast Fourth to kill me within these next 11 seconds. Excuse me. And then we draw Stoneforge, which doesn't do anything. We just go get Sash. It's the only card left. Would be really nice to have a Phantom Blade in my deck right now, huh? My opponent has 3 seconds left. Two seconds left. And also, then we top deck Emperor Bones. So we actually top deck an answer to... top deck an answer to the Murktide, because we get Emperor Bones back Solitude. Casting DeLorean there kills you, I think. I mean, yeah, but you're also like... Yeah, having the Emperor in hand means you were like most assuredly F6ing through all my turns. Right? Like, I assume you had like a removal spell for it, but you're just not allowed to hold it up without timing out also. But yeah, we top deck the answer. Yeah. Yeah, I saw your tweet, Nom. I didn't want to like rub it in and be like, I drew Emperor of Bones, so you're actually still dead. But yes. And I'm sure your hand was like, 7 cards that all killed me if you had, 30 more seconds on the clock. But I think I'm supposed to take that game in a slightly different direction. I was supposed to, like, probably not even, like, recruit the Laron 100 turns ago. I was probably just supposed to shift gears fully into timeout mode and just, like, recruit removal spells, but... That plan's not that great, because, like, the dying to Murktide is so much less likely than dying to, Fourth, and you can't removal spell your way out of a Fourth. I think it's just like the attack with the Stoneforge that was the really stupid one. The really stupid play. Alright, we move on to the semifinals. Thank you. Thank you, Nom. Play against Pickled 6, who I know is on Scam. And we finally did it! We have the main deck Fairy Macabre hand versus Scam. We're gonna do it. We're gonna get them. They're not gonna grief me. It's gonna be great. They're just gonna have a turn 1 Entomb, turn 2 Reanimate hand, and we're just gonna fucking annihilate them. We're so ready. This is as good as a hand can get. Play our dopey little D&T, play my land, fetch my Surveil land. My opponent goes Flooded Strand Pass, the best possible, because it means that they're definitely going to Entomb kill me, and they're not going to grief me. We find land, which is good. We don't want to get, like, Wastelanded out of this game for no reason. We need to cast the old Bone Man. Opponent. Classic. Alright, Entomb, getcha. What are you gonna do, D&T player? Counter my reanimate spell? God, this is so good. I'm so glad. I even like canceled to just double check that I'm doing it right. God, this is so gratifying to actually get paid off for doing this stupid bullshit main decking Fairy Macabre. We just actually fucking get them. Just recruit for like probably Sash here. Seal the deal. Maybe we could Tamer Priest is smarter than Sash, huh? I get Sash. Ponder Shuffle, Brainstorm, everything's great. Pre-combat this specifically, I can pick it up with Sash, or pick up the Sash with Emperor, because I could potentially, if I hold up 3 mana, I can like, you know, bargain bin, purify the grave, bring back the Sash, eat a thing, and then the Sash dies. Worst case scenario. Troll, very beatable. We have Animate Dead covered with Skyclave. Well, we did until we got Wastelanded. We have Source Splashers too. My opponent just has nothing. And then I opt to just fucking annihilate my opponent, punch them in the face after some thinking. I deliberate on whether or not my opponent has like Brazen Borrower or something. That's why they're letting me do this, but I figure that this is fine if we just spend the, if my opponent spends one of their cards to bounce my Emperor, this Vial gets to take up more. And if they don't have Brazen Borrower, then they just go to 1 life. And we steal game 1 thanks to our main deck Fairy Macabre, huge brain choice. Perfect deck building. We do our classic strat, which we've seen. This is the 3rd time we played against Scam. Skip a little ahead here so we can go into game 2. Snapkeep, as is, I guess the theme of this entire event is I just keep like very loose looking hands versus scam and hope for the best, because that's kind of just what you need to do. This hand has all the tools you want, right? It's got Surgical, it's got Thoughtseize, it's got like multiple pieces of interaction. It has this Sash. We're on the draw. We have several draw steps towards land. It's just like, you're not, I'm never passing these hands up. We draw 2nd land, easy peasy. Something that I hadn't considered after this. We'll see what their hand is on the Thoughtseize, because I generally don't remember. Yeah, okay, no, that's why I don't cast the Surgical Extraction. I was like, there are probably worlds where they hide their good cards on the Brainstorm, and then you just, like, take a thing and then Surgical it, right? And then you're, like, pretty good. But then my opponent has 2 reanimate spells and a Grief in hand, so, you know, don't really want to cast this Surgical. I just take the better reanimate spell and say go. What would I do here? I would play Sash. You just want to get your actual graveyard hit online. Emperor Bones, not as great. You want to protect the Sash from the grief. Get it online next turn, and you feel much more safe. Right now we're hoping that they didn't draw exactly like Entomb Reanimate or something. But no, it's just regular scam stuff, and we're totally fine with this. They just kind of have to take the plow. They have one card left in hand. We draw Cage, which is really nice insurance. I offer the trade here if they really want it. I don't think they do, with one card in hand. So might as well start getting my damage in. And we're feeling pretty good here. I feel very insulated versus a lot of the stuff. Their worst card that they could find would be like Frog, and even then we have Stoneforge for Phantom Blade. Again, this is one of those situations where, like, what I was talking about in paper, if my post-board configuration for Scam is like Sash 2 Formal Wears or whatever, this is like, we have a Sash already, it's even in play, and we have a Cage, these Formal Wears not going to do anything. Maybe you want to be leaving in Cauldron paper, or maybe you want to be playing Phantom Blade, because, like, if the opponent does draw a Frog, that does get scary, and, like, if we don't draw a land, we can't recruit Solitude, and Burr of Bones currently doesn't have any ways to, like, answer a Frog very reliably. The Sash can help keep the Frog in check a little bit, prevent it from, like, jumping, but we only have, like, one white source, so, like, still not even that great of a plan. I think about whether or not I want to proactively activate the Sash, but my opponent having 2 cards in hand now and 2 mana up starts to get a little dicey. In terms of, like, Borrower, Entomb, Reanimate lines. But now I'm happy to take a look at what my opponent's hand is. And it is Force of Will, Reanimate. And we are very happy to just kill my opponent. Well, they go to, like, whatever, 4 here, yeah. They are dead. Just realized Cage doesn't stop Ember. Yeah, it's like a really relevant deck building synergy that comes up a ton in the Scam matchup specifically. Because Emperor of Bones exiles the card and then puts it into play from exile, like all the stupid other cards do, like Living End does, and what's the other one that it doesn't actually stop? The one that, like, flips cards off the top of your library but exiles them and then puts the creature into play from Modern. Indomitable Creativity or whatever? Yeah, that's the one. It's cool when I abuse this synergy, but it's lame and stinky when other people are like, when Cage doesn't stop graveyard cards. Wow, why doesn't Cage stop Living End, huh? But it's totally fine when it doesn't stop Emperor of Bones. I'll completely allowed. Because it's cool. Anyway, and that's how we get to the finals. We beat Scam for the 3rd time, and then we play the finals match. Rematch against Stefan. Our Blessed Synergy, they're rude, they're rude, like, yeah, exactly. Rude card interactions. I lose the die roll here. Truly the unluckiest. I think I won the other 2 die rolls in top 8. Very good die rolls to win. I'll keep it. It's got Thoughtseize. It's one of the only ways you get to live to turn to like have a turn 2 versus Scam in game 1s especially. I also know Stefan's list only has 2 Wastelands main deck. Yeah, both me and the person I was testing with got 1st and 2nd place. Yeah, that's very true. It is very rewarding. Stefan's also just like a fucking cracked as fuck Magic player. Like, Jesus. He's so good at Magic. Not surprised to see him here. I forget what I'm waiting for here. We can skip ahead a little bit. Underground Sea Go, it means it sets off all the we're gonna get Entomb reanimated alarm bells like it always does. We don't have like the weird Wasteland line that came up twice already this time, so I'm just gonna cast Thoughtseize and pray. Sometimes they have just Entomb plus Daze plus Reanimate or something, and it doesn't matter. They just Entomb in response and Daze it, but they also can sometimes Brainstorm, protect their good cards like here. My opponent has decided to put all their good cards on the top pretty clearly. Also has the Wasteland, very unfortunately. I sit here and think about what my opponent could possibly have on top, and then I think about that it doesn't actually matter. It's like I can't deduce anything, and I will just end up seeing the cards in a couple of next turns anyway. Hey, Dukes, how's it going? Maybe it's animated and you get a violent play. Maybe. Pretty unfortunate. I hope my opponent's other card is not Daze. And just... I'm going to move to discard here anyway. So might as well fire off the Solitude and pray. And then the Solitude works. Look at that. Still alive. No lands in play. Everything's fine. Everything's great. Copy my list and immediately trophy to my first league. Thanks for the content. Hey, I'm happy that the list worked for you. Glad we're all surviving in this grief world. Mill's a Daze, which is like kind of scary, but I guess that I understand that he's looking for like action spells too. To just kill me while I sit here doing nothing rather than being able to counter my first play when I find a land. Emperor overperformed every match. Yeah, people have definitely been underrating Emperor a lot. Emperor is just really, really good in resource light. I cannot talk about how many like deck synergies it has, just inherent synergies with a bunch of like the ETB stuff in the deck and like flicker effects and solitudes and just cards. Really, really good. Very happy to have it in black splash lists. Puts a little bit of a strain on the mana. It's definitely the big downside of it. We're feeling okay. He's not doing anything. Troll we can beat. We have a lot of ways to beat Troll, right? Our hand is just Emperor of Bones of Solitude, a Skyclave for an Animate Dead, a Recruiter of the Guard for another answer. Yeah, Miranda was the first person to... She literally just went like... I want to put a different... Like, Felia sucks. What are there any other 2-drops that I can put in D&T, conceivably? And she just, like, searched all the MH3 2-drops. And then she's like, let's just try Emperor of Bones. I sit here thinking about if I want to play around Daze, and then decide not to. If we do get Daze, we have Recruiter for another answer for Animate Dead the following turn, so... Not the end of the world. I also don't put in the Emperor of Bones here, because I know my opponent has Fatal Push in hand still from, like, turn 1 or whatever. So I miss an exile, obviously. I would like to, like, try to exile the Troll or something, but... Obviously, my opponent would have just Fatal Pushed my much better card. Should be able to pay for Days with a Vial and 1 or greater based on vibes, true. Vial should just say tap, add mana of any color equal to the number of charge counters on Vial, right? Use only to cast a spell equal to the number of charge counters on Vial. Hardcast Griefed. I sit here and think about whether or not I want to put in Emperor Bones, then realize that I'm ecstatic if my opponent takes Emperor Bones because I have no black sources, it does nothing. My opponent will very easily take this Recruiter of the Guard. Ugh. Put in our Emperor, pray we chop back a Black Source so we can get back like the Solitude, the Grief, or whatever. Or get back the recruit a 3-drop. That's probably better, yeah. But do none of that because my opponent has the other Fatal Push. But we have a ton of live top decks at least. My opponent has no cards in hand, 5 power in play, draw the worst possible, of course. It's not even a land that we could, like, cast Yorion next turn, because it's a fucking second Caracas. Or, like, cast Phantom Blade. It would be really nice to like, curve out here, cast Phantom Blade, and then untap. And then get Vial to 5, pick up Yorion the Phantom Blade, but we just can't do that because of this Caracas. Obviously, we do need to draw Black Source specifically for the Phantom Blade stuff, but... Who was it in chat that was talking about, like, should you cut some Caracas? And I was like, no, Caracas is great. You never get punished. You sometimes get punished. But Caracas has also obviously been insane in a bunch of other matches. Now we draw the Black Source. If we draw these in opposite order, we could have cast the Phantom Blade this turn. I sit here and tank on whether or not I want to add Yorion in hand here, like Yorion plus Surveil Land. And I realize that I definitely do. Because I want to do the Phantom Blade play next turn still, where I cast the Phantom Blade and then Yorion it. If my opponent top decks a Grief anyway, we're gonna super die. Because we'll be at 5 life versus like 2/3/2 menaces or whatever. We won't be able to block either of them with just a Yorion. I have to sit here and think about this Stoneforge Mystic. And then I opt to keep it, I believe. Because I get to Stoneforge for Lion Sash, cast Lion Sash, hold up a white mana, and go get a second Lion Sash, so I can potentially trade off one of the Sashes to help stabilize this board. Hey, I do nothing a lot. Thanks for the 11-month resub. Appreciated. I tapped badly here. I'm supposed to keep the basic planes up. Not that it really matters. But, like, play around, you know, Wastelanded Tomb Reanimate or whatever. I'm going to hold up a white mana for Sash. I might actually hold up Caracas here to protect the to do some, like, Yorion bounce stuff. So maybe that's the choice, but... I don't think Yorion would ever need to get bounced this turn anyway, and we're still in game 1 somehow. And I'm always going to tap this Sash to help block this turn anyway. Tap the Sash. I'm going to tap out for the Sash to help block this turn anyway. Very nerve-wracking board state where, like, I think I'm stabilized, but we're at a very low life total versus some, like, hard-to-block things. A lot of stuff could happen here. I don't have this game on double speed, do I? That's why it's going so slowly. I'm dumb. I wasn't even expecting this attack, but I think his reasoning was probably like this is the last turn where he's allowed to make any attack sort of like this to try to get these last points of damage in. Because this attack doesn't look great, but it is also kind of hard to block. opponent has 3 cards in hand. So I think a lot here about whether or not I'm supposed to just block everything, but there's no way to keep my sash around. So my instinct is just like, the only way I lose this game is if my opponent's hand is like Entomb Reanimate. I can afford to even go to like 1 life here and then stabilize with this like Phantom Blade and this Lion Sash anyway. I know my opponent is playing 0 Orcish Bowmaster in the main deck, so I can afford to do a block like this. If I didn't know that my opponent had Orcish Bowmaster in their deck, I probably would have just double blocked the Grief with the Yorion plus the Stoneforge. And there's just a 2/2 illusion that we can very easily deal with instead, but I can guarantee my opponent doesn't have Bowmaster in their main deck, so I can pretty safely make that block instead and keep the Stoneforge around so I can put it in Phantom Blade and kill this Grief and then end the game here. Here's me trying to think about if I die to, like... We're playing against Stefan. I'm not playing against Jarvis. Jarvis is Samwise GG. Mental Misstep is Stefan Shoots, I think? All boomers are the same. Brutal. I think a little bit here if I'm like able to like beat Brazen Borrower or something, but I realize that with Caracas plus Yorion plus Violin 5, my opponent can never attack me with a Brazen Borrower. Because if they bounce the Yorion, it just gets filed back in. If they bounce the Vial, I can in response pick up Yorion and then put it back into play, and then I have an untapped flying blocker, and then we just set up lethal this turn. Win game 1 in the finals, huh? Feeling good? Up a game versus... Like, stealing games 1 versus Scam as D&T, it feels really, really good. You only have to win 1 of the post-board games. Yeah, spoilers, because, I mean, everyone knows at this point that I got 2nd place. I think it's in the stream title even. So, spoilers, we do lose this match, which is just truly so devastating after that game 1, too. Ugh. These last games are less exciting. Sorry to say. But man, I could taste the victory here. We were so close. This hand's good. This hand is very good versus Scam. It has turn 1 cage. It's got like a bunch of lands where I'm getting wastelanded out. We draw Stoneforge Mystic. Hand's just looking like nothing but gas. And we get Frogged. Frog beatable. It's scary. I think about if I'm supposed to like... There's like maybe a world where I'm supposed to play Vial there and surveil into like more stuff and wait a turn and let the Frog connect once, but... My decision point is basically that Scam is very, very resource light, or like, not resource, interaction light. So there's a decent chance that even if this Frog, if he like jumps the Frog and attacks and connects, that he doesn't find an answer to the Stoneforge Mystic, and we can just, we can Phantom Blade it down after. So we just need to take this shot as soon as possible, prevent this Frog from getting out of hand. And then, of course, my Stoneforge Mystic gets Fatal Pushed. We draw a white card to pair with a Recruiter for Solitude, perhaps, huh? My opponent didn't have Daze for Stoneforge. They have Daze for Recruiter. Nice of him to Daze the Recruiter instead of the Solitude, at least. We draw nothing. My opponent has 7 cards in hand because of this frog. We are likely dead, huh? The discard there meant that we were going to get murderous cutted. Murderous cut. I need to hope my opponent's hand has no dazes or force of wills or second frogs. We draw another cage. Very funny. My opponent has the second daze of the Vandablade, and we're dead to a double frog, as is how it goes sometimes when you have your graveyard hate cards and your opponent draws this half of their deck. Obviously, think about how bad this. We don't know when these Entombs and Reanimates got into my opponent's hand, but could have also just died by getting Entomb Reanimated if we didn't have turn 1 cage there. You just, like I said, you just need to keep your hands and hope your hands line up well enough against your opponents, and they don't always. It's not even like just the frog, right? We had multiple answers to the frog along the way, but just not quite good enough. We had like Stoneforge, but he had the Fatal Push, then we had Recruiter to answer the frog, and then he had the Daze for the Recruiter. Not quite a good enough hand. If we had just like a Source to Plowshares or something instead, or Path to Exile, you know, something we had 7 of, could have had a shot there, but instead we had like these like slower, more interactable pieces. I generally feel like pretty good about those games too. There's like good odds of you beating a frog versus beating turn 1 Entomb, but not always, obviously. We're on the play, we brush it off, we go to a game 3, we're fine. You learn when you play frog is that frog always draws the counter spell. Well, I mean, he had the Fatal Push before he even drew the card with the frog. The frog, of course, found the daze. But just like without the Fatal Push, we could have just Phantom Bladed the frog. We would have been fine. We're on the play. We keep. This hand looks good. This hand has all the tools we need. We have a bunch of removal spells. We have Vial. We have Fairy Macabre. What could go wrong? I'll fast forward here a little bit because I think Stefan tanks on his hand for a long time. Yeah. There we go. Alright. And then we get griefed and then Undercity Sewers. Just. We're gonna get Entomb Reanimated. My opponent keeps a card on top. We're gonna get Entomb Reanimated. We're 100% gonna get Entomb Reanimated. We get trolled, not Entomb Reanimated. We get 2 more looks at finding Cage. We could find Containment Priest, we could find Stoneforge Mystic, we could find Grafdigger's Cage, we could find Recruiter of the Guard, we could find Surgical Extraction, we could find the other Fairy Macabre. We have so many potential outs here. We have 2 looks at like all of these cards too. Sash, and we draw Path to Exile. And then we get Entombed. Entomb Animate Dead, Grizzlebrand draw 7. And also fucking Jarvis Jarvis putting Stefan on the Grizzlebrand tech. Not a lot of the scam lists are playing the Grizzlebrand, but it is very, very good versus D&T specifically. I think there's a pretty real chance that we can beat an Atraxa with the Sand. If the Atraxa doesn't hit, like, that good. Obviously, my opponent was going to, like, probably 7 or 8 cards in hand with an Atraxa, and there's a very real chance we still lose that game, but much more beatable than a Grizzlebrand. So everyone, when you see Jarvis, tell him that, I don't know, tell him that he owes me a Mox invite. Jarvis lost me this Mox. Would have been real sick to have a Spirit of the Labyrinth draw even, too. That would have been, like, we had, how many outs did we have that turn? Obviously a lot less, notably, because my opponent had Force of Will. We would have had to have drawn exactly, what, Second Fairy Macabre, Containment Priest, or Lion Sash were the only outs that beat Force of Will. But also the opponent, I don't know, Stefan could have top decked the Force of Will that turn before, like, going off. Hard to say. Then he griefs my last card. We cry. Nice Wasteland. Nice Other Solitude. Sash Macabre, Spirit, Containment Priest. Yeah. 2 looks at 7 outs that beat Force of Will. And then, like, a bunch of other outs that beat not Force of Will. And then Second Entomb. Get your Archon, whatever. We die. Cathar Commando would have been an out, yeah. Cathar Commando on an Anime Dead did qualify me for a Pro Tour. The other Pro Tour that I qualified for, actually. I beat Arkin in the semifinals. He was on Red Black Reanimator. And in Game 3, I Cathar Commandoed an Anime Dead in response to the trigger. I'll leave this on 3, and then we, of course, top deck Graph Figures Cage, the best possible moment. But we were dead from the Grizzlebrand. I'll take my draw step and hope his hand is 6 reanimates, and then we top deck Swords to Plowshares. It's not. It's Psychic Frog. We're super dead. Sure. Stefan just rubbing it in. We draw Solitude for, like, actual worst possible. Not that it matters. Again, best possible. We're still dead, but, you know, complaint equity. That's the story of how I got second place in the Legacy Showcase Qualifier. A real brutal last match there. Like, both those games 2 and game 3 were, like, very winnable and just did not quite pan out. But, like, can't complain too much. We got a Pro Tour invite anyway, because the one that Stefan got passed down to us. We also beat up, we got to beat up Scam a bunch. We went 3-1 versus Scam, and also, like, had an incredibly close last match versus Scam against some very, very good Scam players even. So, like, I do think this deck is built well to fight Scam as best it can, but sometimes you just kind of have to hope that your hands work, and they don't, and then you lose, and that's just how the matchup goes. And that's kind of what infuriates me, is that it's not like I've exploited Scam. I've built my deck in a way to beat the 50% Scam meta. Something like the pre-MH3 meta when I was playing Moonstompy with a bunch of main deck Hearses and Chalices, I felt like I was exploiting the Scam meta because I felt like I had a really good matchup and they didn't have good tools to fight what I was doing. I had a lot of good opening hands, a lot of good, like, things that I could do to fight that matchup. This is not that. Post-MH3 Scam just, you don't get to exploit. They allow you to exist, and you get to try to tread water in the matchup. Almost all of my keeps were just like, well, I'm gonna keep this and hope that I win. It's not just like, oh, I'm just gonna keep this because this hand's the nuts, and I'm gonna like turn one Chalice, Hearse, and force my opponent to have like 3 Force of Wills and a Pyro and a Hydro Blast in order to beat me or whatever. And that's just like every Dex matchup versus Scam at its best is just like resigned, keep, hope that it works. Anyway, ban Grief. What are your thoughts of Karn build of 12 posters? I think it's very good. I think Futurism has been doing very well with it, and I think it probably beats the shit out of D&T. We'll see how good it is in like a post-Grief world. It's hard to say that anything's like... I don't have opinions of decks right now because nothing exists except for Scam. I will reevaluate my opinion of every deck when Grief gets banned, and we get to actually see things exist in a regular meta and see something rise to the top. But yeah, that's it. That's my rant about why no one has a good Scam matchup, and if you do, you're lying to yourself. It's my whole run of the showcase. Hopefully, people get to learn a little bit, get to figure out a little bit for themselves. Take something with you. I said it up top at the start of the stream. I'll say it again. I wanted to get a sideboard guide for this deck out before the stream today, but I just did not have time. I probably won't even have time tomorrow. I will have one up sometime Thursday, probably. Just a really busy week for me. Prepping for a bunch of stuff. There's no chance they ban Psychic Frog, I think. That card is too new and I think, very reasonable to explore the power level of that card outside of Grief existing. I think it's a very good card, but I don't think anything's ban worthy outside of like nerfing Scam specifically and letting the meta evolve from there. And they would not do that by banning Frog. But anyway, that's gonna be it for today's stream, huh? Talked for way longer than I thought I would. I thought I would have time to like chill and talk about like Dual Commander a little bit and show off some Dual Commander decks, but I guess we'll just have to do that next week. That'll give me some time to like maybe play some casual Dual Commander online, figure out some stuff, figure out how the format feels. Was Romario streaming? Can we go host Romario? I was actually on... not muted. I was on Romario's podcast, Legacy Small Talk. I was on yesterday. Go check that out. I retweeted the link earlier. I don't have a link to it on hand, so I can't post it in chat. But I had a lot of fun talking with Eureka and Romario about a lot of the same stuff that we talked about today. Talked a lot about the showcase and a lot about Scam. Excuse me. Yeah, I mean, Frog is very comparable to Dreadhorde, but I would be surprised if they don't let the card have its time in the spotlight. And if it turns out to be as good or better than Dreadhorde, then yes, it will probably get banned at some point down the road. But I would be very shocked to see it banned before it gets the time to do that. I think the only ban they want to do right now is to nerf Scam into the ground and let the MH3 meta evolve from there, because there are a lot of powerful tools that came out of MH3 that are all just kind of being suppressed by Scam. So it is very hard, nigh impossible, to say what the meta is going to look like after this, what the best cards are going to be out of MH3, like what the broken things are. A lot of people are like, Frog is just better than Dreadhorde and it's going to get banned. Nadu is going to get banned Legacy. The Eldrazi is going to be tier 0. Like, just no one can possibly know what's going to happen in the post-Grief meta. We can only hypothesize. We can only think about. We can only dream about a better world in 6 months. In 1 month and 3 days? What does the timer say? Yeah, 33 days. But with that, that will be the last time I ever look at Legacy on MTGO until August 26th. I'm going to be playing some Dual Commander. I will play some Paper at Gen Con, almost kind of against my will. If the ban list, if I had known that Grief would still be legal for Gen Con, I would never have bought Gen Con badges. I would have never planned to go to Gen Con. But I can't refund the badges, so here I am. Anyway, let's go host Romario. He's playing some Legacy Eldrazi. Anyway, I didn't finish talking about being on Romario's podcast, but I was on their podcast last night. They posted it. It was very fun chatting about the whole showcase experience. If you want more details, let me actually go find that link so I can actually drop it in chat. That shouldn't be that hard to find. I have my Twitter up. How many things could I have possibly tweeted today? A lot. There we go. There's the Spotify link to the Legacy Small Talk episode that I was on. Enjoy. Get this stupid bot out of here. How does this ban button work? Oh, probably because I haven't like refreshed that. If I go over here. Ban. There we go, that works. How to Dual Commander come think I'm geo surprised about Daybreak implementing that. I mean, it's pretty easy, right? They can support a lot of formats. I hope they support like stuff like the Canlander or whatever other Highlander formats are out there, but those are probably harder to implement because of like the points based ban list system. It's like a whole different thing. But Dual Commander just is like normal Commander except 1v1, right? You just can implement any sort of ban lists, so it's probably easier to put that code into there because all the tools are already there. And Dual Commander is like pretty popular from what I hear in both France and also has like apparently some American scene that I just like don't really pay attention to. I haven't really thought about Dual Commander since college. But yeah, I would love to like explore like Canadian Highlander, Australian Highlander, whatever Highlander formats they look to put on the client in the future. Hopefully this experiment goes well and I'll be doing my best to support it as long as I'm having fun. Anyway, let's go raid Mario, huh? Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you had a good time. Sorry to anyone who watches my channel exclusively for Legacy content, because this will be the last piece of Legacy content for a long time. I guess I might be forced, if I do like really well at Gen Con, I might have to come back and do like another debrief when I have more experience in like Paper, talk about pre-war, formal war, stuff like that. But it's not high on my list of things to do. And we already talked about, I would make pretty minimal changes here to play in Paper. I would like swap the Fairy and the Laron. I would like change the second Sash to like the pre-war, formal war, stuff like that, and like make some sideboard changes, etc., etc. I'll post my Paper deck list going into Gen Con as well, and obviously Akaleth will probably post his after Baltimore this weekend. Anyway, see y'all next week. We'll be here for some Dual Commander action. Hopefully it'll be a cool new format.